Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Black Wednesday Twitwow stream. We really tried not to go out of our way to talk about this during the NXT stream because we kind of like for our, live reactions to feel more sort of engrossed into the product that we're watching. But man, it is hard to not talk about stuff like this when it happens. We had, I want to say, 18 talents released, 9 producers, at least one writer, and a long tenured referee because Mike Chioda was released. He was one of the releases, and he's literally been reffing for the WWE. He refed his first match with them in 1989. He's been with them full time for, I think, 28 years since 92. So, yeah, Mike Chioda getting released is a big one. Do we want to get into a game and start talking about this, start hashing this out later?
Yeah, brother. And since you're the one that propositioned me with this, because Ashton came to me and asked if I wanted to do a stream, and it seemed
just to be clear, I came to you because we had a couple people in the Discord asking if we would be into doing this.
Oh, okay. That part I did not know.
So Paul and Abel, really, it was Paul initiated it and then Abel instigated it, which is what he does best.
Indeed. But even so, I'll let you kind of take the reins, bud, about what exactly you want to talk about first. If there's just anything really pressing on your mind about these huge layoffs today.
Well, the thing is, I've actually been hearing that there might be another wave tomorrow.
I would believe it. I would believe it.
I've heard, whatever. I've heard quite the list of names that have been rumored. We got kind of a fake report that was a rumor that wasn't fully confirmed about Ruby Riott, Peyton Royce, and Kairi Sane all being released. Sorry about that. There were also rumors that the Viking Raiders might be on the chopping block due to the fact that Sarah Logan got released.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. Wow,
yeah,
that would be a big loss for them, but I don't really think they were. I mean, I kind of like them working with Seth and company and the bigger angle, but I just feel like they were better used on NXT, which, go figure.
But, I mean, yeah, they were better used on NXT than they were on the main roster, and they were better used in New Japan than they were in NXT, so.
Yeah.
What do you do? But yeah, I think, honestly, right now, I would say the biggest deals to be released were... you know what? I don't even want to do that. I don't want to try and make comparisons like this person's more important than that person. They're all important. They all are human beings. They all deserve fucking welfare.
Well, I mean, yeah, they all certainly deserve better than to be fired in the midst of a pandemic. I mean, I can just say, just to kind of take the ball a little bit, since now we're really getting into it, Drake Maverick's video broke my fucking heart today.
Yeah.
Because that was a guy, I think about what William Regal used to say, that if you really want to get over in WWE and you really want to succeed in WWE, you can't take yourself so seriously. You've got to be willing to make a fool of yourself, because Regal did, and I'd say Regal's one of the baddest fucking wrestlers, on the planet. Drake Maverick, what he did for that company and what he gave for that company, if he was going to get released inevitably, I don't know. I think what really angers me the most and why I'm so frustrated is the severity of this pandemic. It never had to get this bad. Yeah. I just want to remind everybody of that. It never had to get this bad. We didn't have a pandemics team. How long has everybody been saying that we have inferior health care relative to other nations? It didn't have to be this bad if we had our fucking priorities straight. And now, because we didn't, innocent people's livelihoods in this industry and many others are being fucking compromised. And you hate to see it, man. You just fucking hate to see it. It's really depressing.
Yeah. And it's it's one of those things too where the worst part about this to me is they're doing this as a cost cutting measure, but all of these undercard talents aren't worth one Brock Lesnar salary. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's just really frustrating. And then, I don't want to necessarily body anybody right now because it's a very sensitive time. But I saw the statement that Seth Rollins put out, You know,
I didn't. What
and
did he say? Can you
well,
elaborate for the rest of us?
well, I think he more or less just said, like, you know, all this finger pointing that I'm seeing, because I guess he saw a lot of fans like blame WWE because I think they're understandably angry after the news that came out in Florida,
Yeah.
and then thinking that like a bribe happened. And so that's like, you know, I see like a lot of finger pointing, and more or less that it's a tough time for everybody. And Kyle Fowl, who you remember, he used to have that podcast that we listened to, which I guess just, I don't know if it discontinued or what, former AV Club writer, he was like, thoughts and prayers from Rollins. And
What's the name of the podcast? Do you remember?
No, I don't. Unfortunately, it escapes me at present. But yeah, he was just like thoughts and prayers from Rollins, and that's the vibe that I got. Like, I'm not trying to like body Seth Rollins. I'm sure he did lose like friends today, and I don't want to invalidate his feelings. But to put out a statement like that, to be like not finger pointing, that's pretty much telling us don't get angry at a company that I think was more than capable of taking care of its workers.
And Meltzer, I don't even like Meltzer, but he did put out a pretty informative tweet talking about how the WWE had like 500 million in some kind of like a set aside cash savings that they were basically setting aside for a fucking rainy day. And rather than breaking that out, they're just like, no, let's just cut the fucking people that we pay and trim the fat that way.
Fucking soulless, man.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, you know, I don't want this to be like a body Sethington type thing. But then when you come out with a statement like that, like, I understand.
I mean, dude, how long though have we been experiencing and witnessing Seth taking the side of the company over the people?
Yeah, God knows he won't be the fucking guy to unionize the locker room.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I was even thinking like Roman at this point seems like the guy that would be willing to do it, but I almost have to wonder if he would even matter at this point. Like, you know, there have been points in time in history where, and this is almost like fucking Vince is out here playing 4-dimensional chess, because it honestly feels like there is no one person right now that is a big enough deal that if they were to join a union, it would make the union happen. Because like there's like Brock, but Brock's not gonna join a fucking union. Are you kidding me?
With the money he's fucking making, why risk it?
Yeah, no way. Yeah, like because Cena's gone. You know, they practically wrote him off completely with the Bray thing. And frankly, if he would even think about coming back when everyone else was trying to start a union, he would be fucking shamed and shunned and fucked off everywhere. Like he'd be done. His career would be over. Not even as a wrestler, but just like he would be fucking canceled.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just such a bad time. And then, you know, oh damn.
But I didn't even really get to complete my thought. But what I'm thinking though is like, if this would have been like a year and a half ago, Roman wanting to start a union might have actually gotten it done, might have actually made it happen. But now I think it's going to take a cooperative effort. I think Becky is going to have to be involved, which obviously then probably means Seth would have to be involved. And we've already talked about like that's not happening.
Yeah, well, yeah. And that's why it sucks, because, you know, that would put a strain on their relationship. But I mean, come on, like they can't keep fucking getting away with it. I saw Drake Maverick damn near, you know, fucking tears and, you know, all this other stuff. I commend the people that are already trying to turn it into a work, like EC3's video and his tweets were interesting to say the least.
I didn't see those either. Damn, I'm really far.
Yeah, I can't even really give you the gist of them because it was a lot. So maybe between games, if you wanted to look at them and give us your live reactions, maybe that could be something. But you know, he, I think, tried to like kind of gimmick it up a bit, which I commend him for. They didn't even fucking use him, which even me, you know that I wasn't even an EC3 fan, but I thought it was a waste because I'm like, you know, that's at least a solid mid-carder right there that you can use, and they just didn't seem interested. Oh, damn. 2 more seconds, I could have put that in the goal. But yeah, you know, they had these reserves, and they just didn't use them, and it's just really, really depressing that they didn't, because now these people are jobless, and they're jobless at a time when so many businesses are closed down.
Yeah,
so,
well,
like,
and that's
what are
the
they gonna
thing,
do?
too, to think about is, like, if this was any other situation, like, these people are basically betting on whatever severance packages they got lasting them until the end of the pandemic, because they're not going to be able to find work again until the pandemic is over. And even like the guys that are going to be able to go to Japan, like I'm guessing Anderson and Gallows are going to do, maybe Leo Rush finds a place in New Japan's junior heavyweight division. I don't know. But at the end of the day, even then, I don't expect wrestling to start happening with regularity again in Japan for at least another 2 or 3 months at minimum. So again, they're betting on whatever severance package they got from WWE to last them until that point. And then you've got the people, the Heath Slaters of the world and the Epico and the Primo and like those people who are less likely to try and go to Japan, and even if they were to try to make it in Japan, they're probably waiting on like PWG and TNA and Ring of Honor and AEW to reopen. And the way that shit's been handled in this country, we're looking at another year probably.
Yeah, dude, that's the fucking scary part, man. I'm gonna pick a team.
We unironically might end up with a second WrestleMania in an empty arena next year.
Weren't you and I just talking about that last night?
Yes.
That they've handled this so horribly. Like a second straight WrestleMania. And that's the thing. For the performers that have no choice but to rely on the American scene, my heart fucking breaks for you. Because this has been handled so abysmally. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, I almost have to wonder about people that may have to. But then again, if you would just say, well, maybe they could just work, like, outside of wrestling. I don't even know what businesses are going to be open by then and which ones aren't. Like, I think the entertainment industry is going to be dead last to open, right?
Yeah, well, fuck entertainment, sports.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, like, I know the WWE isn't a real sport, and I don't want to get into that discussion, but at the end of the day, from a format perspective, the fact that you have huge live crowds, that genre is going to be the absolute last thing to reopen, for sure.
And I'll tell you, I think this is one reason. I mean, not to, because that has its own host of issues, so it's not like even that's that easy, because every fucking thing in this country is so goddamn awful and broken. But for the superstars, I'll put it like this, for the superstars that were able to effectively get an education and not be drowned in debt and this and that, maybe this is the time to really use that. I don't know. I just hope that the people that are just stuck in America because Japan isn't viable are really able to make it, because this was such a dick move. Like, god damn, man.
Yeah, people were talking about in the Discord, IRS got released on fucking tax day.
Yeah, oh, wow. Didn't even think about that.
Yeah, Mike Rotunda was one of the producers that got released, one of the agents that got released.
Great job, dude.
That was dope.
It's just so fucking depressing, man. Jesus Christ. I mean, because on the one hand, like say Kyrie's release would come tomorrow, because we were just saying earlier how we're expecting another batch of releases to come tomorrow.
Yeah.
On one hand, I'd be very excited for her, but on the other hand, it's like, well, also traveling to Japan and working, like you said, that's still a minimum of 2 to 3 months. Like, she's recently married. Are her and her husband going to be, okay? And like, again, it's like you said earlier with what you wanted the discussion to be. These are all human beings, whether we liked them or not. Like, I even said to you privately, and I'll repeat here, I was never a Zack Ryder fan. I dogged on him harder than fucking anybody. Yeah. But I know the human being loved WWE. He loved his fucking job. And if he was going to get fired, I would prefer it to not be at a time when people need that economic security. Oh, God, I don't want this to be like a John goes on a leftist type rant type thing, but you can see these corporations that have the full fucking capability to take care of their workforce, and they're not opting to do it. Why? Because the bottom line gets treated with more humanity than actual fucking human beings. I just don't understand it. Oh, damn. We have anybody in our I don't have the Twitch stream open, so do we have anybody in our chat right now?
Mostly Javaris, but I did see Paul earlier, and I'm not sure who External Flame is.
That sounds like a new one. Welcome. Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy,
Cord
guys.
Comer brand is here.
Because you had to figure, like, spring cleaning was going to come regardless, but one, I have to wonder if it would have been this severe. And two, like, again, you'd think that a change in circumstances would just change plans. But WWE, they really weren't kidding about then, now, and then the forever part. Because they really are. Like, we don't care what's fucking going on. There could be a nuclear holocaust going on. If this building is underground, we can still hold fucking shows.
Yeah.
And we're still going to tape it. We're still going to put, like... Yeah, I now realize how dangerous that fucking slogan is, because this has shown me that Vince really is a believer. I don't care how many people die on my watch. I don't care what natural disasters happen around me. I don't care what's happening. I am going to produce a show. I am Vince McMahon. I don't lose to anything. Except
I went over God himself, God damn it.
I beat God and the government. You think I'm scared of a fucking virus? And you see, though we joke about it, you see the actual toll of that. Because as other people have tweeted, Vince is just showing that he does not give a shit about you in terms of like the workers. And that's really sad.
Great job.
I mean, it's unsurprising, but it's fucking sad.
Yeah.
I mean, No Way Jose, another one. Like I told you, I feel like there's a star in No Way Jose, but it's going to take a while for him to like bring it out. Because like, you know, it's not one of those things where, oh, okay, I got released. Now I can go on an adventure, maybe discover myself. No, you're going to be discovering, you know, fucking sitting at home, biding your time because your fucking employer was a dick. And
yeah, I was going to say, I guess the only real potential saving grace about this is that they could be looking at filing for unemployment, which should, I think it's like $600 a week now because of Bernie's inclusions in the latest, in the CARES Act, plus, you know, the $1,200 stimulus, and Bernie is also now fighting for $2,000 per month to all adults, regardless of income tax return filing status. So,
yeah, I mean, these are the protections we need, which is why I hate fucking politicians that are like, oh, do we really need to expand the welfare state? Yes! Like we fucking do, you know, no more than that.
Yeah,
and
dude, I don't know if I've brought this up with you yet, but Jackie brought up such a cool point in chat the other day. I think it might have been a Noam Chomsky thing. I don't remember exactly if that's who it was. But the point was that millionaires should not be allowed to vote. Like, if once you've reached a certain tax bracket, your voting rights should be revoked because the government's role is to help people who need help. And you don't fucking need help, so you shouldn't be allowed to vote.
Oh, brother, I can tell you, because she DM'd me about that, that's a Karl Marx notion.
Thank you, Marx.
Which I've wanted to read more Marx, particularly his thoughts on landlords, because I've been seeing a lot about that lately. And yeah, no, I agree with the sentiment. Look, and that's why, like, I've seen some philosophers and, like, policymakers be like, oh, you okay, dude?
I'm all right. Yeah, I just dropped my mouse on the floor, so.
Okay. But no, I've seen some people suggest like, oh, well, maybe we can get the rich to like pay more taxes if we promise them like gifts in return. So like, if they pay this amount of taxes, we'll build like or they give this much. It's not even taxes. It's like, oh, if they do this much philanthropy, we'll build a statue in their honor or something. And I'm just like, no. Eat the fucking rich. Like yeah.
That's like, wow, that is egregious. That is seriously like. Maybe if we ask nicely, the pieces of shit will be slightly less shitty.
Yeah, like, we already worship money enough in this country to a fucking toxic degree. I'm not about to, like, fucking abet it and aid it and just, you know, do all this shit. Like yeah, we'll build fucking Bezos a statue. Fuck that.
Yeah.
And see, I just read it. Now, I want to be intellectually honest here, because God knows there's already enough misinformation being propagated, and getting back to the wrestling stuff, you know, we'll touch on that in a second. But fucking, I read a headline from a New York Times article that I would hope to read later, about how there's like a bigger crisis than even the pandemic coming. And I think it was the economic crisis, you know, because I've been hearing like 30% unemployment after all this. Oh, yeah. And the article did say, though, because my friend did quote, I think the most important part of the article, we have two ways out of this, the article said. We could either go to war, which I'm genuinely afraid of, okay, or we could really use this time to fucking mobilize and become like a green nation, like Green New Deal, and do all that job creation and bolster the economy in an environmentally conscious way. Yeah.
And to me, the way that gets done is with the down ballot votes in November. Like, you know, November comes around, you can't just vote for who you want to be president. You have to vote for the Senate, you have to vote for the House, all that shit. Vote for the fucking district attorney for all I care. Vote fucking everything. Just, we need, and the thing is, I'm not even that big of a fan of like the whole vote blue no matter who thing. But in this case, do a little research to see if there's like a lesser of two evils between if you have multiple potential Democratic candidates. But at the end of the day, a piece of shit who takes billionaire money is still a way better option than a piece of shit who takes money from like pharmaceutical companies and like places that want to shut down fucking Planned Parenthood and, you know, like oil industry and like, you know, like pay attention to that kind of shit. Like, you know, if they're taking billionaire money, it's a red flag, but pay a little more attention to whose money they're taking and just, you know, vote for the moral lesser of two evils if it comes down to that. Like ideally we would have like more AOC type candidates where it's just straight up like, no, you don't have to compromise with me. I'm just a good person that's trying to help people. But let's be real, they're still politicians. A lot of them are still awful. Lesser of two evils. But like, educate yourself. Seriously. You know, the way that you make a difference in that term is on your fucking ballot. Because we turn the Senate blue. We strengthen the already blue House, make it even more blue. We get a fucking weak ass Democrat into the White House, and he chooses two Democratic Supreme Court justices, and then 2024 is when we fucking strike with the real goddamn progressive, which could potentially be AOC. Now, I'm not getting my hopes up about her. I know Craig really thinks AOC needs to run in 2024. I think she's going to run at some point. I just don't expect it to be that early.
Yeah, there's a lot I could comment on with that because you know a lot of my feelings on that. But
I know. John doesn't like the idea of like playing along with the system. Basically, John wants to fucking uprise. John wants to fucking burn the system to the ground.
And I just even, I mean, again, there's a lot I could say about it, but I do agree on one thing, just to keep focus, and that's that, you know, action does need to be taken, and I hate a fucking system that, like, either they make it worse, or like, the better option is the incrementalism that's more palliative than, like, really, of course, obviously, like, revolutionary or just doing something better. Because we need urgent action. That's what we fucking need. And you don't even have to be like, you know, fucking revolutionary or hard leftist like I am. It's just this isn't a fucking game anymore. Yeah. Like climate change, we've been sounding the alarm on it forever.
Healthcare, Abel just subscribed to the Twitch Prime. Thank you, Abel.
Thank you so much, Abel. You're beautiful. But no, like that's the thing. Whatever your politics are, because again, there's a lot I could have said about like all that. I'm choosing not to, but I will say that like, we all need to like fucking act urgently. And if you're going to vote too, if there's anything I would tack on to that, also look at your local governments too. Like, cause I'm really seeing more power happening at the local level. Yes. I saw in like a local New York election a while back that somebody got voted in that wanted to decriminalize sex work. Like if you really want it to count, I'd be far more open on the micro political level to like local elections than just always follow. Now, I'm not saying national isn't important, but I think, you know, you really want to build something from the ground, it begins local. And, you know, again, like I will always advocate for direct action. If you're working, start a fucking union. If you are working and you don't want to start a union, join a union, be a member if you can't be a leader. You know, protect yourself. I know I had friends that were like, oh, well, I'm not going to be at this job long, you know, so I don't see the point. And I'm like, no, you know, because you don't know how long you're going to be at a job. You may think it's only temporary, but, you know, shit fucking happens. Protect yourself. Like, that's what I will say. Beyond politics and focusing more on the social and the individual, protect yourself and look out for each other, like in the workplace and in these other areas. Because these fucking, and I'll say this, workers deemed essential when this is all over, I would fucking hope that they would mass strike for a fucking pay raise and everything else they deserve when this is all over. Because I actually read about a grocery worker that... You know,
that is one thing that I wouldn't be surprised if Biden would get done, is the $15 minimum wage. Because people have been pushing that for years, and we're at the point now that would still be too fucking low. But too little too late seems to be Joe Biden's moniker.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, I recently saw a story where a grocery worker died from coronavirus. And
yes, I saw that. And then, like, their parents got their last paycheck, and it was like $27 or something like that.
Yeah, that's a fucking disgrace. Like, again, regardless of your politics, because I know getting into that, you know, it just becomes a thing. But whatever your views politically, I mean, come on. That's fucking abysmal. And it's already inhumane enough in quote unquote times of peace to work 2 or 3 jobs just to feed your fucking mouth, just to keep the lights on. But in a fucking pandemic, what fucking work do you expect me to do? And just people aren't being protected, and it's really fucking gross. And like, that's
Mark with a really poignant message. He said, what we need to do is what Ashton said in November, but then also not sit back after that if Trump is gone. We need Trump gone, but Biden isn't good enough. Shit, I'm trying to read and play at the same time.
I got you, brother. You can just keep reading the message because we're having
Biden isn't good enough, and we can't be happy with him just because we went back to normal.
Well, and that's what I will say. Like, at first I said I wasn't going to vote, maybe out of my fucking hands because things are really getting bad and I may have to swallow the pill again because I may be fiery with my politics and I'll never apologize for my politics, but I do care about you guys and I do think about like a lot of my friends out here. But I will say this, if I could just have a concession on anything, we need to keep our fucking boots on their fucking throats.
Yes.
Like, I'm serious. Like, because I'm telling you guys this, I can compromise with you on electoralism, but you guys need to understand electoralism isn't enough. It's never been enough. Direct action gets the fucking goods. I saw a tweet where fucking landlords were actually posting listings of homeless shelters on certain tenants' doors because they weren't going to pay rent, and it seemed like, well, you're getting evicted. And I agreed with the person that tweeted it. He said there needs to be fucking a rent strike, but the way he put it was there needs to be actual fear for physical consequences for people that behave this way. Like, we need to make people afraid to behave this way. We need to make politicians afraid for fucking us over. And, like, that's the problem. I'm cool, right, at the moment, because I understand nothing happens overnight. There needs to be a transitional stage in everything. So I know we can't get rid of electoralism all at once, at least the way we currently conceive it. But if we're going to do it, we need to start making these politicians fucking afraid because Bernie got screwed again. But what's happening? Nobody's afraid of it. That's why they were able to do it a second time. Like, we need to organize. We really need to organize, get together. Ashton, you said study. Yeah, I agree. Study, not just your politicians, but the fucking issues as best you can about class, about race, about environment. Because they're just going to keep doing this over and over to us until we make it stop. And that's just where I get angry and just apoplectic. Like, I'm at my wit's end, and yeah, like, we can do electoralism now, but I really want to get beyond an age. I never want to hear the phrase lesser of two evils again. I've heard that every fucking election cycle. And when we talk about a real progressive, wasn't this supposed to be that cycle? And they fucked us. And, like, I'm sorry, I know everybody that's hot on AOC, but if I'm just being honest, if you think a nation that really benefits and profits off of white supremacy... I think
that this process has shown me, if nothing else, the power of a fucking endorsement, man. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah. Abso-fucking-lutely. And, I
forget the guy's name already, but the fucking South Carolina dude that endorsed Biden right before Super Tuesday, or right before the South Carolina vote, I should say. He was the first domino that set all this shit into action. It's like a lot of people in South Carolina were literally Jim Clyburn, that's who it was.
Oh, yeah.
People in South Carolina were literally just waiting for his endorsement. And once he endorsed Biden, that was the fucking dynamite that set off this whole chain of explosions that led to Biden being this dominant. And that's the thing with Biden is, like, no one's enthusiastically voting for Joe Biden. Like, people are enthusiastically voting against Trump. And there are actually also, unfortunately, people enthusiastically voting against Bernie. And not even because of Bernie, but because of his supporters. Because there are people that are upset that Bernie Sanders supporters are, like, fervent as hell. And they are, like, it gives them, it triggers them, or it makes them angry, or whatever word you want to use to describe it. It pisses them off, and they want to get back at those people. So they'll vote for Biden. But, like, nobody is enthusiastic about Joe Biden. Like, the dude is lukewarm across the board. Other than, like, being a creepy old man that fucking women are uncomfortable around. And even then, like, fucking Alyssa Milano, of all people, has endorsed. And she, of all people, was, like, one of the biggest voices of the Me Too movement. And Believe Women and all that shit. And now Joe Biden gets accused of sexual assault. and sexual abuse, and she's still all about him. And no, the Bernie fan base is bad because they're the same as the Trump fan base because they're so fervent about their leader and all that shit. It's like, wow, like some people are so detached from reality. It's really crazy.
I had a diabetic take a tone with me because they had to put their groceries away just to afford insulin, and I gotta be honest, the lack of civility really disturbed me, so I'm voting for the rapist. Jesus fucking Christ. And yes, that's what they sound like to me. That's what the whole lot of them sound like to me. Because you reminding me of all that and me thinking about other stuff, like, I was even telling my mother today, I finally figured out my problem in my family, because I've always joked that my family has like a history of anger issues. This is my fucking anger issue. I can't not get angry about politics, because I just hear all this fucking shit, and it's like, oh my God. And fucking Obama's endorsement, like, we knew it was coming. Don't get me wrong, we knew it was coming. But you pretty much told on yourself that all that hope and change was a fucking lie. Because how you could...
I mean, dude, there are a lot of people, the speculation is that Obama was the one that basically set everything up for Biden. Like, he was the...
Yeah.
He was the one that set up the Clyburn endorsement. He was the one that talked to Pete Buttigieg to get him to drop out, to get his endorsement. Like, Obama apparently has been the one pulling the strings behind the scenes all along.
Which, God, see, and that's why, like, I really want there to come a day where we stop with just partying with electoralism and we do, like, again, as we conceive it now, this binary with fucking corporate sponsors and this and that and fucking Citizens United and all this corruption, and we fucking do something else. Because, again, even AOC, who, you know, there are things I like and there are things I'm kind of ambivalent about, if I'm honest, but, like, even her, fine, you know, we play ball with that. But if you think a country that profits off of fucking white supremacy and has, like, a very big racism problem would let a woman of color get, like, that close to the presidency, I don't see it. So,
I mean, dude, Biden's probably going to have a woman of color as his VP. Well, the number one guess, as far as I'm concerned, actually, let me rephrase that. My personal number one guess is, oh, fuck. You know what? Fuck it. I forget her name. But the betting odds list Kamala Harris as his number one option.
Yeah, which, oh.
Dude, I know. I said it, I was even in the Discord. Like, Biden's, like, pretty fucking solid when it comes to people of color. Kamala Harris will alienate those people of color.
Yeah, like, I'm just letting you all know, if I do swallow the pill and I do fucking vote Biden, and especially if Harris is on the ticket, I never want to talk about it. Like, that'll be the deepest shame of my life. I never want to talk about it. It'll happen, and then we move on from it, because it makes me fucking sick. And
Stacey Abrams. Stacey Abrams is the one that I expect her to be the VP nod. Stacey Abrams, that's who it is. I forgot for that long, but yeah.
Dude,
my guess personally is Stacey Abrams, but the betting odds are favoring Kamala Harris.
Dude, I can see it. I can fucking see it, and it's horrible.
Fucking militant ass Kamala Harris.
Wakanda forever while I lock up your kids for not going to school. Fucking
No.
Harris.
She's trying to lock up the parents.
Or are you not going to school? Or yeah, locking up parents because your kids aren't going to school.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. If I fucking do it, oh my God, I'm going to be showering for fucking life. And you know, and dude, that's the thing. You know I wasn't even crazy about Bernie. I wouldn't even classify myself as a Bernie bro. Like, that was pure optics for me. Like... Because even with the Supreme Court, because I know you've mentioned that with Biden, this is the same guy in Biden that pushed for Clarence Thomas to be confirmed and, like, shot down Anita Hill's accusations of sexual misconduct from Clarence Thomas, who is, like, known, I think, as a more conservative judge. So Biden just fucking sucks. But given what we're dealing with, he might just be marginally better than the fucking alternative. God, I fucking hate that. I fucking hate that this is our system. I fucking hate that legitimate discourse is like, guys, I know they're both rapists, but who has the better policies? Oh.
Yeah.
It's depressing, dude. Like, there's nothing positive here. And then to bring it all the way back full circle, like, about the firings, you know, people's jobs, their livelihoods, like, so much is at stake. And it's just a shame that this is the situation we're in.
Yeah.
So, Yeah, it just really is really fucking depressing.
Yeah. Actually go through. Let me find the list of the people who were released. Here we go. Releases. Man, it's been a fucking brutal day.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, it's been a bad day for us just having to watch as this happens. Imagine how awful it must have been for somebody that was actually released. God damn.
I know, dude. In the midst of a fucking pandemic, to get a call and
Here we
say that you
go.
don't have a job to go back to.
All right, I found the list. Here we go. So Drake Maverick, who was we already talked about the absolutely just heartbreaking video that he put out. EC3, which you told me he had a video or two out as well, which I do want to check in on that.
Yeah, I want your live reactions to that personally.
Gallows and Anderson surprised the hell out of me because they were literally just in the main event of WrestleMania. Leo Rush, which I wish I could say I was surprised, but it seems like he's been in the doghouse for so long that I can't be surprised. Eric Young, which really Young, Hawkins, and Slater, I think are the three talents that's just like, God, they're so undercard and they're so like barely used, and the only time they ever do get used is when they show up to lose. It's like it's not surprising, but you need those guys. You need your fucking undercard guys. You need your jobber talent, and that's what those guys provided. And now WWE is short three of those names, and like, man, it's just brutal. I don't know. It's
Yeah, I'm just seeing my friend Ricardo just shared a post with 2 tweets, and it's from a guy named Andy, and he said it's important to not let WWE off the hook tonight. Vince is worth 1.7 billion. They have reserves of 500 million for situations like this, and just bribed Florida 18.5 million to brand these poor wrestlers essential workers. This is an awful day, and it's on them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who else? Who am I forgetting? No Way Jose was let go. He was one of them. Kurt Angle got let go. Fucking Rusev, man. Rusev is gone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude. Yeah, that was something.
Kurt Angle. I already said Kurt Angle. Aiden English. Man, Aiden English and Rusev both gone. Fucking hell. Rusev Day out the door. Sarah Logan, we kind of forgot about. Well, we kind of brushed over her because I mentioned that her getting released might also end up meaning that the Viking Raiders are on the chopping block. But Sarah Logan, in and of herself, she's a hell of a talent. Formerly Crazy Mary Dobson. I wonder if she'll go back to that moniker. Once she's able to get back to working on the independents. I don't know.
Well, interesting news. Zack Ryder unblocked me on Twitter. Oh. And I can see 5 hours ago, he said, the only thing I wanted to do in life was wrestle. I'm grateful I spent 14 years living my dream in WWE. Thanks to my fans and everyone who believed in me. As I was getting released, I was looking at this photo and smiling. I'm always, with a Z there, ready and beyond excited for the future. Hashtag not there. And I think it was him hugging his dad after winning the Intercontinental title. Yeah. I mean, again, I gave that guy as much shit as anybody as a performer because it just seemed like a great gimmick to rib on. But that's a human being there, and it just really sucks that now he's kind of adrift, as every talent's adrift, because where are you going to fucking work when businesses are shut down?
Yeah. Man. Eric Rowan was released, which, like, my God, what a slippery slope that guy ended up on. He went from having, I would say, one of the top 2 or 3 most intriguing angles on Raw with the cage, to, oh, haha, it's a gigantic tarantula, to, oh, it's dead now because Drew McIntyre crushed it with steel steps, to, bye, you're released now. Like, wow. What a fall from grace. Like, this dude defeated Daniel Bryan last year. It wasn't even that long ago. It was like 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah.
Epico and Primo, so no more Shining Stars, no more Prepico, as we used to lovingly refer to them as.
Yeah.
And Mike and Maria Kanellis got released while Maria's on maternity leave, not pregnancy leave. She's on maternity leave. So she is a second time mom, I believe. She's had 2 kids now, and her second kid was relatively recent. And now they got the release too. Not to mention all of the producers, Lance Storm literally closed down SWA to come to WWE to be an agent. Shane Helms, Mike Rotunda, Fit Finley, Pat Buck, Billy Kidman, Sean Daivari, Sarah Stock, formerly known as Sarita in TNA. And this is a name that I haven't seen mentioned anywhere. 2 refs got released. Mike Chioda, everyone knew about. Scott Armstrong is also on this list of releases.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, shit, man.
It's fucking rough, dude. God damn. You good for me to pick a team?
Yep.
All right. God damn it. Like, and I'm telling you guys, like, layoffs like this by big companies like WWE, Amazon's, and that's the thing, just to kind of make a tangential point, Amazon's firing people that organize strikes or whatever, or join picket lines. They claim it's for COVID concerns, which, even if that were, like, partially true, don't act like it's not, like, a side benefit. Like, oh, we just squashed worker resistance there. God damn it. And it was fucking Squall. God damn it. So they're firing workers that organize. WWE, again, to Mark's point, if you didn't spend the $18.5 million in fucking bribing Florida officials to keep your fucking show going, you could have paid those talents and done the more.
You know what, though? See, that again, though, we've got to look at the system there, because they wouldn't have done that if there wasn't a potential issue from USA Network, from Fox. I guarantee you there's no way the WWE would be worried about continuing to run new content if they were basically given the go-ahead from USA and or Fox to just start showing old shit all the time. But they were probably insistent, like, we don't pay you for old stuff, we pay you for live content. So, like, this literally runs all the way to the fucking top. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But
and WWE, to me, like, that's less like, wow, Vince is a piece of shit, how dare he bribe someone. It's less that than it's just like, well, goddamn, he's doing what he can to fucking survive at that point,
Yeah. But I mean, though, that still comes back to my ultimate point. The way we have been living, our economic and social arrangements under capitalism, they're not sustainable. Yeah. Like, again, regardless of your politics, you don't have to be like, putting 3 drinks in you, having a copy of the Communist Manifesto and like screaming revolution at the top of your lungs to know that this system isn't sustainable. It's just, and we're seeing it because I mean, we've seen politicians actually say, because I think it was the Lieutenant Governor Patrick or something, say that, I know grandparents would be willing to die to keep the economy strong for their grandkids. As if their fucking grandkids are even really primary beneficiaries of this economy. Good fucking joke.
Please, yeah.
And like all this stuff.
And dude, how ironic is that too? Because, like, first of all, the grandparents of the kids who are benefiting from this economy, those kids don't need those grandparents to die. Those kids are set for life if they don't work a day in their fucking lives.
Yeah.
And the kids of the grandparents, or the grandparents of the kids who do nothing but suffer due to this economy, those are the ones who are willing to die and don't fucking need to, because the kids aren't benefiting from the economy anyway. It's like, it's a complete paradox. The people who are willing to die for the economy are the ones that don't fucking need to, and the ones that do need to, or not need to, the ones that, are willing to do it, whose kids actually do benefit, the kids don't need to work a day in their lives anyway. So what difference does it make? You know what? Like, you're not making a difference sending people back into this economy. Like, I'm sorry, but the difference between somebody being able to work at a 40-hour-a-week job where they're fucking miserable, where they're maybe making, a few grand a week if they're lucky. You know, the people that are really, you know, and that's full time. You know, those people are, you know, they're not willing to lose. They wouldn't prefer to lose their grandparents to keep their jobs. Like,
Right.
as opposed to the people that are just sitting on millions, you know, those are the grandparents that are just like, oh yes, I would surely die for you, and it's just like, oh thanks, grandpa, but I think you're good.
Yeah, I love the little rich accent you did there. Oh, yes, of course. I've got a polo match to attend.
Don't you mean polio?
Well, at this fucking rate, dude, yeah. What started as a morbid joke. Oh my god. Yeah. Oh. But see, that's what I mean, guys. Like, this pandemic does, and you know, me and Ash have talked about it, and I'm not even optimistic. I don't want to make it seem like I'm optimistic. Unfortunately, I'm very depressed at the prospect, but or very cynical, more pointedly. But you know, this pandemic really does give us a chance to revisit the way we've been living and maybe ask the question of how we would like to live. But I just feel like so many people, and I don't blame them for this, mind you. I do not blame them for this. But I think so many people are looking ahead to, like, when can I hug my best friend again? When can I go to when can I go to a concert again? When can I have a summer again? That, like, they'll be happy with the status quo so long as the status quo assures them of those things. Like, yeah, you can go to the concerts, you can be with your friends, you can do all this. And again, I just say, though, what happens when the next big crisis happens? Because there will be another one.
Oh yeah.
I
mean, dude, how many times have we watched videos that warned us about fucking super stuff, like super viruses, super whatever, super what, you know, super bacteria, like
yeah.
the shit that, because, and I think actually super bacteria is the more common one, but like the idea that, and that this isn't even a bacteria. This isn't even a bacteria, but super bacteria is a thing. There is like, oh my god, it's so frustrating. There, literally, like right now, people are being given antibiotics to kill bacteria, and what that's doing is it's killing bacteria that is susceptible to said antibiotics, but it's leaving behind bacteria that isn't, and then that bacteria is multiplying and duplicating. And then that bacteria, all that's going to be left is the kind of bacteria that you can't kill with that kind of antibiotic. And you have to try something else. And then you keep fucking trying. And eventually, there's going to be a day that a strain of bacteria exists that you can't fucking kill with antibiotics. They're going to have to literally invent some new antibiotic type shit in order to kill this thing. And that's not even what this is. But like, people have been warning against this for decades.
Yeah, I remember hearing about it when I was very young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, that's not even what this is. But that's coming. It's on the horizon. And we're not prepared for it at all.
Dude, there's so much we're not prepared for. It's actually kind of amazing, and it's only because of all the work of the predecessors, but it's kind of amazing we've been a superpower for this long, because like all it
thanks
takes,
FDR. Thanks FDR. That's what it comes down to. Thanks a lot, FDR. You really hooked us up with the superpower status.
Well, FDR, and then who was, oh god, his name's on the tip of my tongue. Fuck.
Herbert Hoover?
What was it? Wilson? Was it Wilson? No, it wasn't Woodrow Wilson.
Woodrow Wilson was the piece of shit that enacted the Federal Reserve.
Who was the one that dropped the bomb in World War II? Because like I'm trying to think of this.
That. Actually, that might have been FDR. Let me look.
No, I think it was somebody else, dude. I know it was somebody else.
It might have been.
It was
before FDR.
I know it was like.
I think it was FDR, man. Because didn't FDR serve from 32 to like 45 or something like that?
Okay, hold on a second. Who was president?
Yeah, it was FDR. It was FDR.
When atomic bombs were dropped. I just feel like somebody else gave the... Oh, crap. My controller fell, so I'm going to have to pick that up. Word dropped. No, I know it was somebody else that gave the order. Truman! Truman was the fucking president I'm thinking of when it was the decision, like, should we drop the bombs on Japan in World War II? It was fucking Harry Truman. That's what I was trying to think of.
Oh, yeah, because I bet Roosevelt was dead by then, wasn't he?
Probably. And yeah, because Truman.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. Oh my God. Yeah, dude. Roosevelt died April 12th, 1945. And Truman was his predecessor. And Truman took over and he was immediately like, fuck them, drop the bombs, baby. Literally like a month, not even a month later, I think, was when they dropped the bombs. Holy shit.
So FDR laid the groundwork, but why I even bring that up, I'm going to pick a team, by the way, was that any historian will tell you that isn't a fucking, nationalist or like America apologist, that we didn't need to drop the bombs to beat Japan. In fact, I think the Soviets were putting enough hurting on them from what I'm hearing lately that they would have surrendered anyway. Just to reiterate, I did pick a team because I don't see you anywhere.
No, I hadn't joined yet, but now I'm in.
Okay. But dropping the bomb was really Truman's way of solidifying us as a global superpower, I think, to show our might to the world. Like, this is what we fucking got. And so those two presidents together, one with the carrot and the other with the stick, so to speak, really gave us that position.
God, what I would give for a fucking sweet, sweet taste of FDR's carrot all over again.
Oh, my.
I know, dude. I'm just saying, like, FDR had the sweetest carrot in the history of this country.
The only reason I would even want to taste it at this point is, like I told you, I think we've gone so long without that kind of a social democracy that I almost have to wonder if that would. Now, again, I'm also kind of cynical about the prospect, if I'm honest, but I do have to wonder if it would radicalize people. Like, wait a minute, if this is what being left is, what else do leftists offer? And it's like, well, let's tell you about open borders. You ever wanted to go to Paris with ease? We could do that for you. I don't know if it was Chomsky or some leftist once said, if you wanted to convince people of the power of communism, show them that communism can make an iPhone. And then you're fucking sold. And, like, I honestly do believe there's some truth to that. Because these fucking right-wingers and other people, they talk about freedom and this and that, but then when you really get down to brass tacks, like, there were protesters today, I think, trying to block a Michigan government building and, like, blocking traffic. I don't know if you heard about this, but I think it was, like, a right-wing group. Well, they were
impeding people's right to movement.
Yeah.
Their freedom to move.
And I think it was like a right-wing group, and this one guy got interviewed. Well, this man and this woman got interviewed. The woman was complaining that she couldn't get to the hairdresser, and the one guy was complaining that, like, oh, I can't get fertilizer. I'm telling you, if you could show these fucking shallow-ass people that their comforts would be met under communism, they'd go a whole different kind of red, believe me. Like, oh, fuck you, Roundhouse.
God damn it.
But yeah, that's the thing. Like, they talk about all these fucking platitudes and these fucking words, freedom this and freedom that, even though, they shout down journalists and this and that. I'm actually, with what the news is being put through with Trump, it reminded me something that Ann Coulter said, like, years ago, which I'm glad she hasn't surfaced lately. Which also, on that note, I was thinking about Rick Santorum recently for whatever reason, and CNN actually platformed him to ask him his opinion on how he feels Trump is handling the coronavirus. Why is Rick Santorum's opinion valid on anything? Like, Jesus Christ.
Didn't Santorum get turned into, like, some, like, dirty, disgusting thing?
Oh, yeah, he did, by the gay community because he's so intensely homophobic. That was great.
That's amazing.
It's the little acts of resistance that matter. Oh, man. Oh, God. I'm getting back in goal. But yeah, what was I even? Oh, yeah. So they platform fucking Santorum. But with the way the media has been getting hit, it just reminds me of what Ann Coulter said, like, so many years ago. I think there should be more jailed journalists. And yeah, this is the fucking party of free speech, right? Get the fuck out of here. Oh, come on. I feel like we've had 3 or 4, like, tickling my ball type goal attempts where it's like it's right there and you can't close. And it's just, it's really, it's awful. So, if more releases are coming tomorrow, do you have any idea on who might be on the chopping block? Because I do think Kyrie may get her papers tomorrow, like, being released.
Well, yeah, I was going to say the 3 women that were kind of speculated today, Kyrie, Ruby, and I'm assuming both Iconics, as Peyton was speculated today. I can't imagine why they would release one and not the other. And especially because Peyton is the one of the two that I feel like fits the WWE mold more. So if she's getting released, it feels almost inevitable that Billy is. And yeah, the Viking Raiders, those are my guesses. Like, I'm not excited about any of them getting released. I wish none of them had gotten released today, but like, if I had to, if you're telling me that I have to make a bet, those are the five. You know, the Iconics, the Viking Raiders. So I guess it's six actually. Kyrie and Ruby. God, and Ruby being released is just fucking awful.
That shit's fucking foul. Because I was even getting ready to say, dude, you know I love Kyrie, but I ultimately do think she's going to be okay if she can just get through.
I mean, Ruby could come back to stardom too. She's spent time in stardom.
That would be great.
Actually,
but like,
was Ruby trained in stardom? I don't think she was. I think she was more like just like Gaijin come in, like a Layla Hurst situation where she kind of started doing stuff on the indies and then eventually got asked to come in.
Right.
She wasn't trained there. I didn't think so.
But yeah, like Ruby getting really, I was even gonna say like Kyrie.
If that happens, yeah.
If that happens, you're right because that hasn't been confirmed yet. But if that happens, that's a fucking crock. Because like, you know, with Kyrie, I'm not worried about her. I love her. I feel like she's wanted to leave anyway, so she's really getting what she wants, and that's what matters is her happiness. With Ruby, this woman competed for God knows how long with 2 injured shoulders for you fucking people. And she came back and she had a fucking banger with Asuka just this past Monday. If she gets released, if that's true, fucking shame on you. Especially after her WWE PC video. Great inspiration that was. Came back, did less than nothing, and then got released. Despicable, man. Like, speaking purely for the women, I think Ruby was criminally mishandled. Like, oh, makes me sick.
What about you, man? Anyone that you think is gonna get chopped tomorrow?
I agree with the people you were saying. I could also see Tamina getting released.
No,
even though they just seem to be using her more.
She's got a job for life. Look at who her fucking dad is.
Oh, that is true.
Snuka, man. They literally. That's the thing. Didn't Dark Side of the Ring literally just drop the Jimmy Snuka episode today, or was it last night or something like that?
Yeah, I think it was like last night or something. Yeah.
Yeah, like. Boy, Vince sure managed to cause a distraction from that shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick a team. But yeah, I'm trying to think. I feel like Andrade's secure. I hope Angel Garza's secure because they have the faction with them, and I do think they like the faction. I'm just trying to think about people that really haven't been used. I would hope Lars Sullivan, you know, I guess I shouldn't say hope because it is a rough time for everybody, but, you know, he seems like such a toxic asset. I would be shocked if he didn't get released.
He's a Vince guy.
Oh, fucking hell.
I mean, come on. Like, Vince probably fucking loves him.
Yeah, probably. I wonder if, you know who could be a guest, but I'll say this more for furlough rather than just pure termination. I wonder if they'll furlough Jason Jordan, because he's still with the company, isn't he?
Yeah. Another name that I kind of thought of was Bobby Roode.
Yeah, because Roode hasn't been seen in a while. He might get the chopping block. And he's an older guy, too, so I you know, it's
External
weird.
Flames dropping some names in chat. Cesaro, Gable, Apollo, Dana.
Dana, I could say. Oh, damn. Cesaro, I don't think so. Honestly, you talked about like job security with Tamina and stuff. I feel like Cesaro, for some reason, has that job security. I think he's a reliable hand, and he's still doing the shows.
I mean, dude, is that like reliable hand? Is that not what almost everyone that got released can be considered?
That is a fair point. But I think Cesaro still has had greater presence than those people like on the shows. And I don't think he's
greater presence than Rowan.
I'd say
Anderson
more recently,
and Gallows, like
Anderson and Gallows. That's a fair point. Rowan, I would kind of debate because he did up until a point, but I wouldn't say recently. Not like Cesaro now. Anderson and Gallows for the WrestleMania feud, yeah. Which makes me wonder if Anderson and Gallows wanted to be released.
Yeah, Dion, another name that we haven't talked about yet.
That was disappointing.
Yeah, you were really starting to become a big fan of hers. I remember you wanted her to be in that ladder match big time.
I really did. I thought, and I still think that she has a huge upside. I gotta wonder if she's gonna go.
She definitely strikes me as an AEW girl. Although I don't know if she and Marty are still together.
A Marty Scurll, right?
Yeah, but if they are, you would have to think ROH.
True. Maybe they can clean up.
I'm guessing AEW, but we'll see though, because I mean, the thing is, if she and Marty are no longer together, we don't know what kind of bridges are burned there, because Marty is still good friends with the Elite guys. So maybe AEW wouldn't be an option for her.
Oh man, that would be disappointing. I would hope Marty would be big enough to be like, whatever our issues, you're still a human being and you need to make money, to fucking survive. So yeah, pursue it. Come on, Marty. Be. I know you're a villain, but be a good guy. Fucking shit. And I keep wanting to say go, but like, when will they be able to go to AEW or to Stardom?
Yeah, that's the problem to me. Is like, they've been released into a world where there's literally no work for them for at least another few months, if not over a year.
Like, I guarantee you, if it wasn't for this pandemic, maybe we'd still be doing this stream, but I think it would be more excitedly like, oh, dude, where do you think this person's going to go now? And how would they be used?
Yeah, dude, absolutely. If it wasn't for the pandemic, this would be a far less somber stream. We would be excited about potential stuff happening. Like, I think everyone would be talking about how excited we are about, like, Lio Rush being in the junior division in New Japan, and, Heath Slater possibly trying to make a name for himself somewhere else. Like, yeah, there would be a whole hell of a different tone. I wonder if Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins, the Major Bros, I wonder if they're going to be a tag team act somewhere. Like, maybe they strike me as like a TNA tag team act, honestly.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, man, I'm glad you mentioned Heath, because I want to say, too, again, as a guy that really wasn't a big Heath Slater fan, I did enjoy the angle with him and Rhino becoming the inaugural SmackDown Tag Team Champions. But he always struck me as a company guy, so I feel like they did him dirty today. I really do. Like, I don't know. He just struck me as a guy. He almost struck me as a guy that would have, like, the kind of producer job type thing. And just always have a job with the company.
EC3 and Drake Maverick might be going back to TNA together.
That would be something.
EC3 and Rockstar Spud, that whole situation that they had in TNA for the longest time.
Yeah. God, I just wish there was
hand in hand.
I just wish this was like a spring cleaning where we could have our surprise, look to the future, and not be so worried for them. This is the most I've ever been worried for talents ever. Yeah. Like, because this pandemic's just upended everything. It's really fucking sad. Oh, wow, Fury. Not as sad as me getting demoed right there. Shit. There we go. Like, God, I would honestly just love nothing more that when the veil of this pandemic is lifted, like, just mass accountability for all these fucking corporations. Because I've heard Disney's done some shady shit too, and to put it the way I saw from one person, Disney's money makes WWE's money look like monopoly money. And
Disney's, I mean,
yeah,
Disney makes more money with one big Marvel movie than the WWE is worth.
Yeah. No lies detected, man.
Seriously, like, you could take any of, like, the top 5 Disney Marvel movies, and their net income is probably higher than the WWE's net worth. I'm not even joking, because the WWE, I mean, we talked about it earlier. Isn't Vince worth like $1.7 billion?
Yeah.
Didn't Endgame make $2 billion?
Let's find out.
It was either Endgame or Infinity War. One of those made $2 billion, I'm pretty sure. Whichever one it was that surpassed...
$2.8 billion, yeah. Avengers Endgame, $2.8 billion.
Yeah, holy shit! Come on, like, Disney...
They had a bigger box office
buy the WWE with just one movie. Come on.
Yeah, Infinity War also crossed $2 billion. It was $2.048 billion.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
Both of those movies. Both of those fucking movies.
I mean, I said top 5. Where was, like, Captain Marvel and Black Panther, I think, were the other 2 big-time, like, billion-dollar blockbusters.
Let's see. Black Panther. Black Panther. That was only 1.344 billion.
Oh, only. Thank you.
I say
okay.
only,
Captain,
yeah. But I mean, per your
Captain
metric,
Marvel, Captain Marvel, do Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel box office. 1.128 billion.
Okay, so. Oh my god. Still, the point is, Disney could buy WWE as a whole with the fucking revenue from one movie.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be one movie, as in, like, you have to choose one specific movie. It could be one of multiple movies, because I'm pretty sure that the Marvel movies aren't even the only movies that Disney has produced that have made that kind of money. Like, their fucking Star Wars movies have probably made close to that, too.
Oh, yeah, give me a Star Wars movie. We'll look that up.
The Last Jedi.
Star Wars. The Last Jedi box office. Let's see. 1.321 billion. The only one that crossed 2 billion that I'm seeing here is The Force Awakens. It was 2.066
But
billion.
still, my point is, you don't even have to restrict yourself to just Endgame or just Infinity War. They've got multiple. Look at Toy Story 4. Did Toy Story 4 do it?
Good point. Toy Story is such a popular franchise. I would believe that they would, but let's see. 1.073 billion. God,
okay, so
billion.
they're only being able to buy like 65% of the WWE's entire assets, and then they would have to tap into the revenue of some other movie to be able, like, it's fucking silly. Oh man. But yeah, the point is, I totally believe that Disney makes WWE look like monopoly money, because the point being, they could buy the entire company with the revenue from one of their hundreds of movies that they make.
Yeah, dude, you even just said 65%. That's still a big majority stake.
Yeah, yeah.
Holy fuck, dude. Christ. I guess play. It's throwback.
Yeah, let's do it, man. Let's see what we can do. But
I mean, yeah, that's my thing. If Disney's doing like shady shit to its workers in the midst of COVID, when, like, I even wonder, like, Disney's net worth as a company, like what the company itself is worth, not just the CEO or whatever. And I have to bet that it's pretty fucking high. Jesus.
You should have looked that up while you were looking this stuff up.
I think I will when we score this goal here, because I think I can maneuver it. And
yep, that's in.
Yep.
And I won't go through until you give us an answer.
Disney net worth. God, that looks atrocious.
It's going to be like 220 some billion if I had to guess.
I'll read it in a second, because I think I caught the number, but I don't want to say anything inaccurate. Okay, you're busy. The ball's all the way on their side, so I'm not going to worry about it. Disney is one of the biggest media companies in the world with an estimated net worth of $130 billion.
Oh wow! So still not Jeff Bezos quite yet.
Not Jeff Bezos quite yet, but I mean that's still an obscene amount of fucking wealth.
Yeah.
Like if 130 billion can't get you through this pandemic, with more revenue, I'm sure being generated. Like what's the fuck?
I mean, they're generating less revenue though, because they aren't able to release like Black Widow and stuff anymore.
Yeah. And the theme parks.
But the thing is, how much money are they making though from Disney Plus subscriptions? That has to have gone up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. Like that's what I mean by revenue still being sustained, because they've still got the streaming platform. Like if you can't take care of people with that net worth, like in the midst of a pandemic, then why are you even fucking here? Like I'm like if you all thought that I was intolerable before about people extolling the virtues of capitalism and everything, I'm going to be fucking insufferable when this is all over, because I never want to hear again about bootstraps or about entrepreneurs or any of that shit, because you're all fucking
worthless. Yeah, because these fucking big-ass, like, billion-dollar corporations apparently need to be bailed out. Like, if you were an individual human being, you would be being told, oh, well, you should have saved up. You should have been prepared for a situation like this. You should have known. You should have been prepared. You should have had a rainy day fund.
Exactly, dude.
Where is all that talk for these billion-dollar? Like, even WWE apparently has one, a $500 million one, and they just don't care. They're just not using it.
It's beyond
Vince,
fucking
and now
gross.
Vince is on the fucking economic recovery team.
Wow.
You heard about this, right? Vince
No, I
McMahon.
didn't.
Yeah, Vince McMahon was appointed to Donald Trump's board of people to get the economy back up and running, basically.
Yeah, for fucking who? Christ. I hate
I
everything.
think you
so
know
much,
who.
guys.
You know who. Trump's billionaire
Yeah.
friends, which
Yeah.
Vince is one.
It's just so goddamn disheartening and gross. And I have to worry about friends that can't afford medication or are missing appointments. I've seen friends of mine lose loved ones and they can't even go to the fucking funeral because of social distancing. And yet I'm supposed to feel bad because apparently people like Ellen DeGeneres put out a tweet that was like, oh, being in quarantine is like being in prison. And ooh, I shouldn't finish that thought. But it just really made me sick. It just really made me sick because it's like,
Talk
first
about
of all,
tone deaf. Fuck.
dude, the most tone deaf thing I've probably heard, and that's saying something. Because you have fucking millions, you probably live in a fucking mansion. If that can't entertain you, you're a fucking lost cause.
Dude, TikTok can be on point sometimes. I actually saw a TikTok recently, and it was a dude with sunglasses in a pool with like an orange daiquiri with like an actual orange slice in it. And he was just talking about how, like, you know, quarantine life is especially hard for those of us who are well off. Because you see, our bowling alley broke and the ice skating rink melted, and we couldn't get anyone to come in to fix either one of them because of this social distancing bullshit. It is just a really hard time right now.
Yeah, dude. And like, especially the likening to prison, which I don't know if you guys know this about me as a leftist, but I'm definitely leaning, and I have for a long time, leaning towards prison abolition because I think the carceral state is just inherently fucking immoral and unproductive. And inefficient is really the word I'm grasping for here. Because I'm pretty sure Ellen still has her fucking voting rights. So before you start likening things to prison and being a prisoner, maybe watch your fucking mouth.
I mean, dude, voting rights are cute and all, but I'm pretty sure there's a much bigger difference between being in prison and being in quarantine than just not having voting rights. Like,
well, of course.
Prisons are literally designed to be miserable and uncomfortable and self-isolating and just terrible.
Yeah.
She's living in a cushy-ass carpeted fucking mansion.
Oh, yeah, dude. And she's eating food that's fit for human consumption.
Yeah, which is more than anyone that's in a prison can say.
Yeah, and then speaking of prisons, I saw something today from the Miami Herald that one Florida prison is actually exploiting prison labor to make masks for the prison guards, but the prisoners won't be getting any. So, yeah.
I mean, of course.
Makes me fucking ill. But it's like being in a prison, you guys. Shut up. Just shut the fuck up. God.
Oh, man. Well.
And then you want, like, because wealth inequality, because that's the thing, guys. Every issue that we've been screaming, like, from the rooftops about, climate change, wealth inequality, all of that on one level or another, fucking, informs this pandemic, or this pandemic informed those issues. Because...
Yeah, that's something that AOC has actually been saying a lot, is that every sort of slow burn issue that the progressive wing of the Democratic Party has been trying to address for the last few years has just been put on fast forward with this pandemic. It's like everything is being put into hyperdrive. Like the housing crisis, the education, the fucking student loan issue, which I guess now student loans are being temporarily suspended, which is obviously nice. But, the biggest one is the healthcare issue, the fucking childcare issue, there are and you even mentioned wealth inequality and the Green New Deal kind of stuff with the environment, with global warming and all that shit. Like, all of that shit has been stuff that the progressive wing of the Democratic Party has been pressing for years now. And only now are people starting to realize, like, holy shit, this stuff's kind of urgent. And it's like, still, even despite people realizing it, nothing's being done about it. Like, it still blows my mind that, like, 70% or so of Americans want healthcare for all. They want Medicare for all, but they still voted for Biden. Like,
yeah, I'm gonna pick a team who was like explicitly said on interviews, "Oh yeah, I'm against single payer. I'm against this kind of stuff."
He's explicitly said in an interview that if Congress were to pass Medicare for all, that he would consider vetoing it.
And I think I already told you about the conversation I found myself in, and thankfully I didn't get too mired in it because I wouldn't have had the patience, about an ad where Biden doesn't explicitly say that, like, affordable healthcare would be an insult to my dead son, Bo, but it was like heavily implied with the wording. Like, you look at the wording and how the ad's constructed and framed, and it's like, yeah, like Medicare for all. That's like, you know, a personal attack on my family almost, and it's just fucking gross. And what was another issue that I was going to talk about with the pandemic? Because we talked about like wealth inequality and stuff like that. I mean, climate change. Oh, that's right. With climate change, fucking Chernobyl's on fire and radiation levels are spiking right now in fucking Chernobyl. And obviously, like, fighting it, you know, that's going to be a kind of a difficult thing. God damn it. With this whole thing. So yeah, it's like everything, people that are saying like this is the worst timeline, I've always thought that at times it's like, yeah, it's bad, I can acknowledge it's bad, but it can get better. But this is the most dire like anything's ever felt to me. Like, this really feels like an empire on its last breath right now, and we're either going to pivot and change course, which again, a Green New Deal and mobilizing the economy in a way that isn't fucking warfare, you know, that would be one way to do it, or it's going to be another big war to get us out of this depression, because as you and I said, even in the early days of us knowing each other, war is a fucking racket. So you're going to go with the racket, or you're going to try something new, and given the administration we're dealing with, I'm very scared about the answer. So, hooray. Because, like, I've been telling, like, a lot of my, I've been having conversations with my mom about it, and she has the patience of a fucking saint to hear me go on my political rants, because I just can't help it when we talk about it. I just get so mad. And I even told her, like, if Trump gets reelected, I could totally see us, if not going to full-blown war with China, like, definitely heightening aggression.
China? If we try and go to war with China, we are fucked.
Well, yeah, I even told her
and
that.
Not even just from, like, oh, we're bad, but, like, that's, like, the one country that we are guaranteed to lose a war against.
Yeah, I told my mom the exact same thing, brother, but why I even bring that up? Even, again, if it's not warfare, I could definitely see us upping aggressions and intensifying aggressions against them.
So you think almost like Cold War with China?
Almost, yeah, because I could see...
Dude, yeah, that would also fuck us completely, because how much shit that we use or consume on a daily basis is made in China.
Exactly, but I can see it happening because I can already see the propaganda, especially if Trump is a two-term president, which, you know, I've been predicting would happen really for a long-ass fucking time at this point. And I could already see the propaganda that China is a bioterrorist that, you know, threatened American interests and compromised American freedom.
My fucking grandmother actually posted on Facebook apparently earlier today a news source that was called Weaponized News or something like that. And I went and looked it up, and the fucking Twitter had MAGA, M-A-G-A, as a hashtag in their fucking bio. And I was like, oh, this is just fucking great that my fucking grandma is being exposed to this shit.
Yeah.
They were talking about how, oh, the Chinese government admitted to it being a bioweapon.
And this is how, though, in the words of Chomsky, who we mentioned earlier, you manufacture consent. Because if you don't think that, and this is the problem, and I hate to be that guy, but this is the problem with the media. Even the media that wants to take an anti-Trump stance, stop platforming him. Stop playing his fucking speeches, because if you don't think they would ramp up this anti-China rhetoric and that the media wouldn't be complicit in it, playing the interviews, saying things like Chinese virus and labeling them a bioterrorist to, again, start a Cold War, if not just a plain old, you know, hot war, you know, I'm sorry, but that's just not how it works. The media would be playing that shit round the fucking clock. Like, yeah, I really feel like aggression.
I thought, see, when it's funny you thought about China, because I immediately go to Iran.
And it's funny you mentioned Iran, Ashton, because I have a friend of mine who's a colleague in philosophy, and he's Iranian. He's got family in Iran. He was a huge Bernie supporter, and he's heartbroken that the campaign, is dead in the water now that Bernie has
Endorsed
voiced his
Biden.
Endorsed Biden. Thank you. That was the word I was looking for. And he said he's scared for Iran. Like he's really scared for Iran and his family in Iran, and that's fucking heartbreaking.
And frankly, I can't blame him whatsoever. Like
I don't blame him whatsoever either.
Yeah.
Because honestly, I would be worried for Iran even under a Biden presidency, because Biden will still be a war president. Like imperialism is just in the American fabric, like fucking apple pie. Like it just doesn't stop. That's how you keep empire going. So to any Iranian, to the people in Latin America,
that was a Wilsonism too, I think.
Beg pardon?
Wilsonian something or other. Woodrow Wilson.
Yeah.
I want to say was like the fucking forerunner of interventionism.
Yeah.
In the U.S.
Which, like, it's just all bad. It's just all fucking bad. And like, again, even if you're not fully automated luxury space gay unicorn communism, there are other countries that just like don't even have anything close to that I would still say like are capitalist or just authoritarian or whatever. And they've like, just had better healthcare and just better responses to this virus.
Dude, even fucking China, like fucking fascist ass China, fucking authoritarian ass China are handling this fucking virus better than our regime.
Yeah, like this is bringing American empire to its fucking knees. And like all that rhetoric about bootstraps and the American dream, as if we didn't know it was bullshit before. Talk about the American dream to these fucking WWE superstars that gave everything to a fucking billionaire and didn't even have a bit of economic security during a pandemic. Like they could have even said, hey, when we're able to get back to business, we're going to have to let you go because we just feel like we've run the course, but we'll take care of you like until then. And I don't know, maybe they just felt like that would be way too long because of government incompetence. Javaris is sharing some personal shit. He said, on top of the virus here in Mississippi and Alabama, had a bunch of severe weather and tornadoes this past Sunday that left a bunch of people homeless. Like my friend Kai, her mother's house was destroyed Sunday. That's what I mean about the intersection between climate change and this pandemic. Because the more natural disasters like this happen, the more people get displaced. The more people get displaced, the less people can social distance. And the less people can social distance, you get the fucking idea. So, like, it's everything. And we need a completely different political and moral imagination for the era that we're facing because the world's changing. I even saw an article from The Guardian today. I'm going to pick a team that said social distancing may have to continue until 2022 if we don't get like a vaccine or an effective treatment. And especially if we don't get a vaccine or effective treatment, one scientist even predicted it could go as late as 2025. I mean, Jesus Christ, people. I've seen friends, and again, I don't blame them.
I mean, if we don't get a virus, if we don't get a vaccine, which I feel like there's already one in the works right now, and we just have to see if there are any longer term effects. But like, if we don't get a vaccine, 2025 maybe. But like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm leaving.
Yeah, that's cool. But you said like 2025, and then what was your thought?
Well, it's like fucking doomsday scenario. That's
that's
like
what I was thinking
on a probability sort of counter, like the 0th percentile outcome being everybody does their job the worst possible way and it leads to a fucking apocalypse, and 100th percentile being
pick the team.
South Korea, basically, or Greenland, the way that the virus is handled in those countries. The whole like 2025 thing is like a 3rd percentile outcome. You know what I mean? Like, it's legitimately one of the worst possible outcomes that doesn't end in the fucking apocalypse.
I will say though, even if 2022 comes to pass, which I actually think is probable.
I don't know about probable. I would say that's more like a 40th percentile outcome.
But I would really fear about suicide spiking. I'm kind of worried about suicide spiking now. I'm amazed we haven't really heard anything about it. Maybe they're burying the lead. Maybe it's not like the biggest news story, but I just worry about mental health crisis.
I do think that if Bernie manages to get the $2,000 a month to every American adult thing passed, that would be a hell of a deterrent against suicide. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, because, dude, between the displacement from the pandemic and just the existential angst between climate change, this pandemic, and everything, like, there is enough ammunition for anybody to really entertain suicide, and that scares the crap out of me, because that just shows how alienated and displaced the just American citizen en masse really feels right now in this country. And yeah, like, it could be really dark times ahead. Do I think it's going to get that bad, like the 2025 and everything? No, I do think that's being alarmist. I do think we'll have a vaccine before then. But, I mean, I think the only reason those projections are being made is because of so many incompetent governments right now. Like, you got Trump, who's right-wing populist, Boris Johnson.
Yep. Dude, the UK and the US are the two countries that still haven't properly plateaued yet.
Yeah.
And I still UK like it's its own country, but you know what I fucking mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean, dude. No worries. But yeah, like, those fucking countries. And like, what me and Ashton were talking about, since we've kind of, like, diverted from, like, the talking about the releases specifically and just the pandemic more generally, it reminds me of what you and I were talking about too, because you were going through the data with me about the countries that are handling it really well, and then I mentioned to you, like, I just wonder how this is going to change things on a global level, because the U.S., countries like the U.S. and areas like the U.K., they're used to holding all the cards, being superpowers. But I think this virus is going to cripple them so much, like, it's going to give the other countries that have been kind of been dominated and subjugated by those countries a lot more leverage. And it's going to be like, well, we don't feel comfortable doing business with the U.S. because you haven't gotten coronavirus under control. Like, I feel like a huge blowback is coming. All this xenophobia and shit is going to bite us. Oh, wow. It's going to bite us in the fucking ass, because it's going to be like, oh, well, you know, you still haven't plateaued on corona. We don't really feel safe doing any business there until you get it under control. And, like, well, take a deep seat then, because it's going to be a fucking while.
I mean, it looks like we're getting close to plateauing, but we just haven't done it yet.
Yeah, but then even
like,
after
I wouldn't say that we're going to be looking at, like, months out that we're going to still having not plateaued. But the problem is, even once you do plateau and you start to get it under control, if you start to go away from social distancing too quickly, that's how you end up with multiple waves.
Exactly. And really, dude, that's what I should have articulated as my concern. Because, yes, we're close to plateauing. You're 100% right about that. But I just worry that in this age of misinformation and, like, just the
that Trump would be like, yes, we're plateauing, everyone. That means you can get back to your work. You can go back to work. You can get back to your job. You can make sure that you keep the economy up and running. And then we get a second wave. And it's worse than the first wave because people are more carefree about it.
Bro, I don't even think, like, I agree with you. Trump explicitly making statements like that would make it worse, but I think we're in such an age of, like, anti-intellectualism and misinformation that I think they would just hear the word plateau and they would conflate it with fucking, like, us being done. Exactly. Yeah. Because this is the same, I mean, granted, this is the UK and not the US, but remember that John Oliver segment when Brexit first happened, that people that voted on Brexit Googled immediately after, what is Brexit? Like, people, they're not as careful with words as we would like to believe. I mean, I've been guilty of it. I will readily admit that. I'm not perfect. But I think the stakes are too high to, like, willfully misinterpret something. Like, know what fucking words mean before you compromise other people.
Yeah.
Because that's a genuine fear of mine. People are going to hear plateaued and they're going to think, oh, great, Katie, we can go to the beach. Christ.
Let's go to the beach. Let's go get away.
Yeah.
God, I will say, though, like, to a degree, I think that people that are taking it seriously are doing well. But I also think that there is a faction of people that are taking it way too fucking seriously. Like,
yeah.
You're allowed to touch people. Just fucking wash your hands afterwards. Seriously.
Yeah.
And even then, you're allowed to touch people. Just sanitize. Like, washing your hands is an option. Sanitizing is an option. Like, you don't have to live in a fucking bubble.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that's the thing.
Human-to-human contact is not a problem as long as both people involved are sanitary.
Exactly. But
I just watched a fucking video earlier about this dude, and it was obviously like a meme, and it's like, okay, whatever. But, like, this dude was, like, trying to be cutesy, and he went to a girl on like a first date situation in a fucking bubble. And I'm just like, God, this is so ridiculous, but also there are probably people that think this is necessary, and it's like really annoying.
But dude, and it's funny because you talk about the people taking it like too seriously, and
Yeah.
I definitely think the media in ways doesn't help because there are definitely like clickbaity headlines and like fear mongering headlines. And me and Christy, my sister, for those that don't know, we've talked extensively like about the social and political repercussions of this, like what laws are going to be able to get passed in the name of security from the virus, just like 9/11, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like the Patriot Act and
NSA,
shit.
yeah.
If people aren't seeing the political opportunism in this, like,
nice job.
I would thank you. I would just suggest taking a harder look. What time is it? Okay, I'd say we do a few more games and then I'd be ready to call it because I am starting to get hungry, admittedly, but I am enjoying this conversation. So when you look at like the political opportunism, I know Christy's concerned about Bill Gates because Bill Gates, one of the biggest donors of the World Health Organization, and I know scientists have criticized Bill Gates for like having so much input in the WHO organization that, or just WHO, because that's like ATM machine. We don't need to start that now. But, because Bill Gates is more concerned, going to pick a team, with developing vaccines and stuff rather than just better health systems that I guess would be preventative. It kind of goes back to something you said to me once, dude, where we don't have health care, we have sick care.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of the same thing here. He's only concerned with developing things like after people get sick. I think scientists are saying who should be more focused on health systems that would better respond to things as people get sick and really just to prevent sickness altogether. So it's like a clash of interests. Yeah. And I even remember when Bernie was still campaigning. He was at like a town hall or something, and a reporter asked him, like, how much do you think the vaccine will cost, the corona vaccine will cost, and how people will afford it? And a nurse just took the mic, and she was appalled. And she said, the idea that we're talking about the cost of a vaccine, I've just never heard something so awful in my life. Like, what even is this? And this right here, everything we're seeing, the fallout of everything we're seeing, is profit over people at its fucking zenith. Like, this is where this ideology fucking gets you.
Oh, absolutely. Like, dude, that's the thing. Like, I feel like people don't understand that, like, what we're experiencing now with the fucking social distancing and the idea that people are still being forced to work, and like the essential workers are the people that are commonly looked down upon, like the fucking grocery workers and the pharmacy workers and shit like that. And like all that is literally just unfettered capitalism at its absolute best.
Yeah. All these people that are like, oh, I think we need laissez-faire capitalism. The problem is regulations. No, don't sit the fuck down. I have the shiny toy I want to show you. Just stick your head right here. And oh my God. And there's still going to be and that's what really sickens me the most. When this is all over, there are still going to be fucking billionaires and quote-unquote entrepreneurs and all this stuff that are going to be touting the free market as the ultimate savior of the COVID crisis. It's going to be really interesting, dude, to see how South Park lampoons this shit. Like, I am just...
Honestly, dude, I actually saw a Kayfabe News article today, and the article was literally... Kayfabe News stops reporting parody on wrestling after WWE bribes Florida governor to declare them essential business.
Wow.
Like, that fucking broke them. Like, that's too much of a parody to be real.
Yeah.
And, like, I feel like that's what this situation is at South Park. Like, this is too fucking satiristic of itself to be real.
They kind of felt the same way about Trump. Like when he first got elected.
Yeah, and they stopped touching on it. They basically gave up on it. Like, they straight up, like, Garrison was just their Trump figure, and he would still show up every now and then, but they didn't do any more episodes dedicated to that subject afterwards.
Yeah, and if they felt that way about Trump just as, like, the president and the whole candidacy, like, what are you even going to say about this? This is a fucking madhouse.
I wonder if Mexican Joker is going to be the stand-in for coronavirus in the next season.
Oh, dude. Wow.
Because we never really resolved that storyline in season 23, if I remember correctly.
Right.
Mexican Joker is absolutely everywhere. All we can suggest is that you stay in your homes.
Yeah. Oh, wow. You need to contact them and be like, I've got your first episode set. I know you guys like to make this shit late. I got you, fam.
Aww.
Oh, fucking hell.
I literally saw that shit developing as it happened. And I was like, fuck, that's going to go in. He's not in position.
Yeah, I bet some people saw this fucking crisis developing as it was happening, and they're like, oh, this isn't gonna go well.
Dude, I actually was seeing, like, warnings, like, this is gonna be a big fucking deal, like, get a fucking hazmat suit or something back in, like, January. And I was just like, oh, please, like, this is your typical fucking fear-mongering, and then here we are.
Yeah, and I can't even blame you, dude, a lot of people were that way, because for whatever reason... and the thing is, I can't even blame the media completely on this, because there was actually a journalist back in, I think, December 2019, only a few months ago, that wrote about, like, I don't even know if it was a quick blurb or if he devoted a whole article to it, but mentioned how Trump fired the whole pandemics team.
That was back in, like, 2018.
Yeah, and, like,
yeah.
I guess they had just made mention of it in a more, like, fairly recent article, and, you know, it was they just said, like, you know, that's concerning. Obviously. And yeah. Like, fucking ABC News has even whitewashed Bush even further, as if they haven't tried romanticizing enough. Look at him, everybody. He paints now. Isn't that great? Yeah, I tell all that to all the fucking dead Middle Easterners. I don't really think
yeah,
they give
and now Trump is gonna try and fucking privatize the USPS.
Oh yeah, dude. I even heard somebody say, like, on it, because, you know, I still use Yahoo, even though I've really been thinking about just transitioning to Chrome full-time for all my correspondence. But, you know, with Yahoo now, they have videos play in your inbox when it's empty. And somebody was even like, oh, Amazon would be better at handling mail than USPS. And I'm like, no, fuck Bezos.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not fucking interested in giving that fucking megalomaniac any more power. Fuck that. But, you know, all the free market bootlickers would fucking love that. Oh, yes, Amazon would be so much more efficient than the Postal Service.
Oh, yeah, dude. I actually legitimately heard Steven Crowder make that exact argument.
I fucking knew it.
Long before coronavirus ever was a thing, like a year or two ago.
I think I remember that video. Because when you think free market bootlicker, you think Steven Crowder.
Yeah.
Who also hates gay people, but does a lot of skits, like, you know, in dresses and stuff like that. So, I don't know, Steven, you seem a little repressed over there. But, yeah, brother's got a lot of problems. Oh, and he's just a shithead. Like, I feel like comedians being way too generous. Like, God, his jokes are fucking cringe. You could just tell that he pays people to laugh at his jokes. Like, make me seem funny, guys. God, he actually recently, I saw another video of it, because, again, you know me, I like to keep my finger on the pulse of, like, the right-wing current in terms of social media, and even the fringe current, just to see if, like, they're becoming more of a threat or whatever. And he made a video, what was it? I think it was, like, May Day for, like, all the workers, or Labor Day it was. And he fucking made a video shaming workers for the day off and, like, fetishizing the employer and the CEO.
Oof.
While they're staying behind and working hard and you're just scoffing down hot dogs. Like, dude, you're fucking vile. God. I actually reconnected with a teacher that I adored in middle school. Like, the ironic thing is, I would actually attribute, like, her influence and her kindness to why I became a leftist. And she's like, she's very right wing. Like, she's gonna vote for Trump in 2020. And I saw some of her likes. She fucking likes PragerU, and I'm like, oh, dude. I and Breitbart, which was even more concerning. Because they've like published some, like, overtly white nationalist shit, I feel like.
Yeah.
And it's like, how did this happen to you?
God.
Who hurt you? Like, External Flames. I still can't believe just how fast everything went to shit. External Flames, are you a YouTube? Like, what's your YouTube name? Do we know you from somewhere? Did you just happen upon this? Because I'm trying to make the connection. But it's great to have you here.
He did say earlier on in the chat that he was new to the chat and that he had just been following our streams for a while.
Oh, cool.
He's new to the chat, but he's watched some of our stuff the last few months. So that's
okay.
All the context that we really have on him.
Very, very cool. Very cool. Well, glad to have you with us.
I shouldn't assume gender, but by default, I just assume that most people on the internet are male.
Yes.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but just an assumption there.
I'm thinking like it's 10 after 12. Would you be cool with this being the last game? We could kind of round up discussion. And then we can go, because I am starting to get hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, like just these free market bootlickers that are like, oh, let's just have, the private sector take care of everything, and the free market really take care of everything. And it's like this is the same free market because
I'm like the exact opposite. I'm like fucking centralize everything, fucking socialize everything, fucking legalize everything, like
fuck yeah. I mean,
communize everything, like just
nationalize everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking nationalize the internet.
But yeah, come on now.
Because
what was what was it called on Silicon Valley?
Didn't they just call
public
it like
internet or something like that?
Yeah, public internet, free internet.
Yeah. But the idea is internet should be considered a utility, not a luxury.
Oh, dude, in this global economy, fuck yeah. Like, everything's done on the internet today. And beyond that, just to finish my other point about, like, why trusting the free market to everything, which is why I hated fucking, even in, like, community college, I always hated the fucking Milton Friedmans and those economists we learned about. Because in my business ethics course, Milton Friedman was like, oh, well, I think what's ethical in business is what maximizes the profits of shareholders. It's like, listen, who are you? Oh, I'm Milton Friedman. How long have you been on this earth propagating these ideas? And then he just gives me the answer, and I'm like, yeah, you've lived long enough. And just fucking end it, fam. End it all, fam. Because fucking free market handling everything is how you have the CEO of Nestle saying that he feels like water isn't a human right. And, like, just wants to privatize water so they keep bottling it and selling it. That's another scary thing about this climate crisis when we kind of touched on that earlier. If the air would get so bad to breathe, I guarantee you that any clean air, the fucking free market would privatize and, like, bottle up and sell. Like, oh, clean air for $5. Like, free market people will fucking privatize anything.
Yeah.
Like, just remember that, guys.
That's libertarians for you, right?
Well, dude, you fucking, you nailed it, because I even remember, like, on an ANCAP subreddit, I think somebody was unironically talking about privatizing the air. Like, just, yeah, like, are you okay? What's fucking, what? Like, how many breaths does the average human body take a second? Like, is that just going to be taxed? Like, what's your fucking vision here?
Straight up, like, the Hunger Games world is an ANCAP's dream.
Yeah. We're all watching this movie, like, man, that really sucks for them. And the ANCAPs are just like, the dream!
Haven't we talked before about, isn't, like, an anarcho-capitalist like a fucking oxymoron?
Yeah. The way I would always see ANCOMs talk about it is like saying you're an anarcho-capitalist is like saying that there's a banana octopus. Like, it's just utterly ridiculous.
Isn't there one though?
I don't think there is. But either way, even if you just put it the way that you did.
Okay, Javaris has said the Zero Mortals plan multiple times in chat. I feel like that's a familiar term. Is that a DB Super thing?
Yeah, that was Zamasu. That was his whole thing. Like, oh, we're just going to wipe out all mortals. When really, Javaris, you should just be saying, eat the rich. Because, like,
yeah, I was
going to
say,
plan,
what the fuck did I do to deserve to die? Like, no.
Yeah, that's
if somebody is out there hoarding millions, if not billions of dollars, and underpaying their employees and not offering a paid sick leave and like all this shit regarding this corona situation. Eat them. Zero
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, like honestly, that kind of rhetoric, and I know Javars is only kidding, so I'm not gonna like bring the hammer down, obviously, but like that kind of rhetoric is just eerily adjacent to the people that I'm seeing with the environmental improvements. Like humans are the virus. No, you fucking budding eco-fascist. Humans aren't the virus. Our economic and social arrangements are the problem. Capitalism is the problem. It's the same people that would try and argue with me about like, because I even got in an argument about this like I want to say a month or two ago, where they were like, "Oh, well, you know, overpopulation's a problem," and I'm like, "Overpopulation isn't a fucking problem. It's resource allocation."
Thank you. Yes, it's fucking manufactured scarcity.
And can I just say, as somebody with cerebral palsy, like, fuck out of here with your eugenicist talking points. Like, fucking hell. But that's the thing, like that's what's most disheartening, because you hear about these cockamamie plans of we're gonna cut the sun's rays in half, like we're gonna dim the sun, or we're gonna like replenish the polar ice caps by manufacturing ice. Like they are more willing to do stuff like this than just confront capitalism.
For those of you that would like to actually learn more about the sort of alternatives to capitalism and specifically socialism. I know John is more anarcho-communist, but anarcho-socialism is also a thing, and just socialism in general.
Yeah.
I recommend looking up Ron Wolf on YouTube and his talks that he does, because and especially if you're here because you're a wrestling fan, he literally talks like Paul Heyman. Like his voice, his talking mannerisms, everything reminds me a lot of Paul Heyman. So
you said Richard Wolf, right? That's
Richard Wolf. Richard Wolf. Yeah, Ron Wolf is a fucking politician in my state that I'm familiar with. That's why.
Oh, okay. Since we're making recommendations, I would also recommend a narco pack for a narco pacifist and libertarian socialist rants. They actually were very formative in quote unquote bread pilling me, which is the opposite of red pill. That's when you bring people over to the left. So they're really good. And I'm going to plug, I know, Ashton, you're big on the Venus Project. If you guys want to watch documentaries on that, I remember we watched a documentary a few years ago together. That's really good. There are resources out there, guys. The Anarchist Library, I know I turned Brandon onto that. I don't think Brandon Best is in this chat, but I sent him resources on that.
So Mark in chat just actually said the whole people are the virus idea has actually been a message of a recent movie. It's been a message of multiple recent movies, dude. Because you're bringing up Godzilla, King of the Monsters. That was one of them. But it was the villain in that, and it's the villain in both of these, actually, that said that. But also Kingsman, the Secret Service. Samuel L. Jackson's character's whole message is literally the exact same thing. He literally describes it as if people are a virus, and the global warming is the Earth trying to get a fever to kill people. Like, that was literally Samuel L. Jackson's character's entire spiel in Kingsman: The Secret Service. And yeah, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, the heel in that, the villain in that, also had a similar message. He was trying to unleash all the monsters because the whole idea was that, like, people are the problem and the monsters would keep the people in check and that kind of thing. So, like, yeah, similar messages in those movies for sure.
All right, guys. Well, I think that was going to be our last game. And yeah, just really whatever resources work for you. I think what it comes down to for me is just know that you don't have to live like this. Like, you do not have to live like this. There are better modes of life out there than capitalism and the 40-hour work week, which even like capitalist economists, like I want to say Hayek and stuff, thought that with our technological capabilities, we would one day reach an 8-hour work week. And I still think that's possible today.
Yeah, I mean, dude, that should be what we're striving for. And again, like, the big thing too, like, I don't want to endorse the actual person that I originally heard say this, because I don't think that they are a particularly good person, and I don't want to encourage people to listen to them. But I did see something that really had an influence on me. If you are the progressive wing of the Democratic Party right now, people are looking to you for answers, because you have been on a fucking pulpit talking about these problems for years. If
Yeah.
OC or Bernie or Ilhan Omar or Ayanna Presley or who am I forgetting? Rashida Tlaib. Like, if you are any of these sort of overtly progressive Democrats, people are looking to you for answers. And to me, if you're not going to be given any kind of power, like Bernie dropped out of the presidential race, and we're going to be getting hopefully a new wave of potentially progressive congressmen and women coming in November. Right now, though, I think you need to be organizing strikes. Send people emails like Bernie's campaign has a huge mailing list. They fucking text me every now and then trying to get me to show up to like speakers. Like the one thing was God, I always forget her name. Nina Turner. Nina Turner was going to be doing a big speech near me. And like they're texting me and stuff, trying to organize shit, trying to get me to sign petitions. You need to be organizing strikes is what you need to be doing. You need to be organizing worker strikes. You need to be organizing a strike among fucking grocery workers. You need to be organizing a strike among transportation workers, a strike for pharmacy workers. These people should literally just organize them. Just be the leader that they need to organize. Teach them how to unionize. Tell them what they need to do in order to be able to demand better pay, better benefits, etc., etc. Set this shit up, and then you've got the country by the balls, because if they stop working, the quote-unquote essential workers stop working. Fast food workers, too. Organize a fast food worker strike.
Sanitation workers?
Sanitation, absolutely. You need to start organizing strikes, because then you've got the country by the fucking balls, and then you can say, oh, by the way, Mitch McConnell, you're gonna not include that $400 billion slush fund for Donald Trump to do with what he wants in this bill, but you are going to include $2,000 a month to every American adult, no strings attached. So you either do that, or these strikes continue and you don't get your fast food. You don't get your sanitation. You don't get your fucking drugs at the pharmacy. You don't get any of this shit, because these strikes will continue.
Exactly. Like, guys, I even came across something that I wrote years ago when I was actually still an anarcho-pacifist myself. And there was actually one argument that I put forward, well, actually that I had heard and then I reiterated in the paper that I would even still stand by now, surprisingly. And that's that when you don't do mindless violence, because I want to like keep in mind, when I advocate for revolutionary violence when things get really bad, it has to be coordinated and it has to be ethical. I'm not talking about like randomly throwing bricks through shop windows kind of thing. But when you do pacifism and you radicalize the workplace by distributing literature, by organizing meetings, by talking to people, by telling them the benefits of a union and of striking, you take over the means of production. The means of production stay intact. And when you own the means of production, you hold that shit hostage. And you say, we own this shit now. Yeah. That's bargaining power. Yeah. And honestly, if anybody was to convince me to come back to the side of anarcho-pacifism, that would be fucking it, because we need the means of production. That's not only our bargaining chip, that's a way to a better way of life. Yeah. Because the way they're deployed now, like, I'm sorry, Ashton, because you were on a roll. Did I cut you off, by the way? If you wanted anything else you want to say. Like,
no, literally, my entire argument is organize strikes so that you can get the fucking country by the balls, make demands, get the shit that you want, get Medicare for all passed, because at that point, what are they going to do? Say no? No, they can't. They literally have no choice but to bend to your will. You can literally control the country without even needing to be the president if you're Bernie Sanders and you go out of your way to organize this shit, but he's not, and that's what pisses me off.
Yeah, because I'm telling you guys, if you peacefully, and this is me now arguing for pacifism, because I again, there are positives. There are strengths to that approach. You take over the means of production, you have leverage, and you also have the means to create a new mode of life. Because as I said earlier, capitalism isn't sustainable. Now, I just want to point to two examples, because I love both of these countries to a point. Obviously, they have flaws like any other, but I do like their working class consciousness. France doesn't tolerate any of that shit. France will get word of an austerity measure like cuts to pensions and shit. They take over the fucking country. We need that kind of consciousness here, but it doesn't begin until workplaces and that kind of mobility, but it doesn't begin, and it's possible. It's possible because of the internet, but we need stronger class consciousness. And unlike, and this is
how
one
is
thing,
it that we live in a country that can organize a fucking raid on Area 51, but we can't live in a country that can organize a goddamn strike?
And this is, and dude, you and I have talked about like my being dispirited because there's no revolutionary potential, and that soundbite from you is exactly fucking why. Because we will organize more for a fucking meme than we will for universal health care.
That's what it needs to be.
And
we need to turn striking into a meme somehow.
We do. We
need to make it. Yeah, we need to make it like we need to like go on fucking TikTok and make it a thing. I don't
like. Unironically, it's so funny that you say this now. Because I was watching I shouldn't say watching, I was puttering to a video from a YouTube channel, Zero Books, which is like another leftist channel. And they were talking about the revolutionary potential of memes. Because like memes are kind of like the art of our age in a way that kind of like speak to a kind of counterculture. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm not even, like this.
Oh, no, yeah, no, I'm not even, I totally see. Like, I've been thinking that. Like, dude, you got to understand, the whole Bernie campaign, I feel like, was just a fucking massive failure. And, like, I think a lot of it has to do with a few things, but the two biggest things to me are A, their sort of inability to cooperate with mainstream media to try and get on their fucking good side, and B, their inability to get creative with their internet audience. Because the internet audience that they have is strong as hell, but they made no effort to really truly mobilize that audience. All they really did as far as mobilization goes is just door to door. Like, sure, we're going to go knock on people's doors. And then the problem with that then is when Joe Biden gets endorsed a day before the fucking, primary, 80% of the people whose doors you've knocked on that said, oh, I'm going to vote for Bernie now, are just like, oh, well, I guess I'm voting for Biden now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
exactly.
It takes too long. It's too time restricted. It's like, what you really should have done was organized some kind of contest or competition or some kind of something that makes people feel like they're competing against each other for some kind of prize, but really what they're doing is getting the word out. And not just getting the word out, vote Bernie, but getting the word out, go to this YouTube channel, go to this website, go here so that you can get updates from the campaign, so that you can hear what Bernie has to say, so that you can get information on what Bernie's policies are, so that you can learn how Bernie's planning on paying for this shit, so that when some jackass on the news asks him how for the 828,000th time, you can answer it before he even needs to, because you already know, because it's a fucking meme at this point and they need to stop asking it. Like, the fact that there was so little effort to really mobilize people, and not people as in like the people that are already in the campaign. Like, obviously those people were mobilized from the start, but those aren't the people that you need to convince. Mobilize people to go somewhere where they can learn, to go somewhere that they can almost get de-brainwashed, because people are getting brainwashed by fucking CNN and MSNBC. And at this point now, because again, Bernie's dropped out, so they're going full-fledged fuck Biden, Fox News, like, people are being brainwashed by the national news media, and you need to literally fucking lodge some kind of anti-brainwashing campaign against that shit. And they made no effort to do that whatsoever. Like, the only real effort that they made to try and counter the shit that was being said on CNN and MSNBC was just debates. It was literally just like Bernie shows up at debates. He says what his positions are. He has rational responses to irrational questions. And none of that shit matters, because the next day they're talking about how Biden won the debate. You're like,
yeah,
it's embarrassing how poorly the national news media was handled by the Bernie campaign. Honestly, like, knock on as many doors as you want, mobilize as many Hispanic people as you want. It doesn't fucking matter when people who watch the news media are being told constantly, Biden's the nominee, Biden's going to beat Trump, Biden's the one to vote for if you want to beat Trump. You're like, nothing else matters at that point, because you're not making any effort whatsoever to counter that programming.
Yeah, and another thing I would want to say too, because I said two countries, and I mentioned France, how like the slightest provocation, they're like out and occupying, which honestly, I would say that the right wing in this country has more of like a sense of mobilization and stuff, because you even saw today.
Right, well, yeah, because of fucking 4chan.
Yeah. Yeah, like they have greater capabilities, I think, than the left for organizing. Now, that isn't to say that Antifa isn't doing great stuff. I heard that Antifa was supplying like medical supplies and going on the supply lines and helping people. I saw one video from my sister where two people they shoplifted food like from the grocery store and they gave it to the homeless and they bagged it up. Like even little
Do you know what I
things.
really don't understand is how like right-wing pieces of shit on 4chan can break into the mainstream so easily with shit like Pepe and garbage like that, but there isn't a leftist space that's even remotely capable of anything close to that.
And that's what to kind of return to the original point about memes as counterculture. You know, I think the right has kind of mastered that way. And even if it's not making memes, it's appropriating memes because the original creator of Pepe never wanted this to happen, but they appropriated it and now they've ruined it. They've completely changed what Pepe signifies. Memes are very fascinating to me as far as like again a countercultural kind of messaging and signaling and kind of a modern art. But the other country I would mention would be Greece. You know, when they had their austerity measures and stuff, you had anarchist blocks in Greece. There was a group of anarchists that occupied an abandoned hotel. It made people furious because they wanted to clear the building. But they refashioned that abandoned hotel into a processing center for refugees where they gave them food and medical supplies and they took care of them until they were ready to move on their journey. Like these are things and see guys, what I want to say too, just because I feel very calm right now and I feel like this has been a really cool discussion. You know, I already clarified what I mean by revolutionary violence. I don't want to seem like a kind of leftist that fetishizes violence because I don't, but I do think it's necessary. Like I do believe that. But if you're not like into that kind of stuff, because I can tell you I'm not. We have a gun range on my property. I fucking hate walking by that shit. I had to walk by it today. I fucking hate it. So I know that's not for me. But there are still things you can do. If you see people shoplifting, don't fucking snitch on them. Just let them do it. You don't know what they need. If you see people squatting, support fucking housing rights. Because I know Moms for Homes, they I think got a big victory recently where they were able to occupy a house and the court, kind of decided in their favor. There are little things you can do that isn't like brandishing a fucking gun and having the Soviet national anthem playing in the background. Little acts of actual resistance that isn't just a fucking hashtag. Because and God, like personal jab, and this is just the opinion of me, not of Twitwell as a whole. Every liberal that was like hashtag resist, and then they would applaud Nancy Pelosi for tearing up a Trump speech that he already delivered. You have no fucking clue what resistance actually is. Like, just keep drinking your fucking martini or what the fuck ever, and leave resistance to the adults because it's a fucking joke. Like, that's the thing too. Language, memes, all this messaging and signaling, it fucking matters, and the left needs to get better at it because there are leftist YouTubers I like, but just to give you guys like a comparison here, let me look something up because I mentioned, and Ashton, if you want to say anything while I'm looking this up, so there isn't dead air, you're free. But I was mentioning one leftist YouTuber I like, Libertarian Socialist Rants. I want to see, is there a way on YouTube that you can sort somebody's most viewed video? Just so that I can see that automatically?
Yeah. Go to their videos page, and then on the top right section of their videos page, there should be a drop-down menu that says newest to oldest. And if you click on that, you can click on most popular then.
Okay, so most popular, 143,000 views would be Libertarian Socialist Rants. Now, if I'm right about this, it's going to be embarrassing if I'm wrong, but I would actually be happy to be wrong about this. I'm going to look up one alt-writer who's so fucking bad. He said feminism has destroyed Western civilization. We need ethno-nationalism, like everything, the whole fucking 9 yards. Has 550,000 subscribers right now. Now, let's see what his most popular video is.
Oh, it's going to be in the millions.
Well, dude, I don't even need to go to the most popular because the first video, the most recent video they did 3 weeks ago, 145,000 views. And the most popular video on Libertarian Socialist Rants uploaded 4 years ago only has 143,000. Now, when you go to the most popular, what do we got?
Millions.
It's going to be something. Yeah, 1.6 million from 3 years ago. I'm telling you guys, and this is something I think, Ashton, you can even vouch for me on this because I swear I've told this to you before.
Oh, yeah.
That right wing are better at social media than we are.
Yep.
Like the alt-right and all them, that they own this space, and so long as they own this space, we lose. We lose. We need to get better at utilizing the space. We need to get better at memeing and actually translating that memeing into praxis, into actual action in the streets. We need to get better at YouTube. We need to reach more people. And I can tell you, one appeal of Black Pigeon Speaks, because I've like watched a few videos just to get a vibe, because I remember Libertarian Socialist Rants did a video on him. he does these sleekly produced videos with these images and this background music. He only like barely cites information, but it still gives it that scholarly veneer. You know what I'm saying? Like if you look deep enough into it, you know that it's bunk. But he does just enough to make it seem like these are the tactics they fucking use. And we need a new playbook that's far more aggressive against this shit, because I'm sure as hell not in the mood to be fucking passive. And I sure as hell am not in the mood of like, just acting like it's not a problem and civility on both sides and just not doing anything. Like we need a new playbook, and it needs to be more aggressive in matters like this, because 4 years ago, 140,000 views, and he topped that within 3 weeks. And then 3 years ago, 1.6 million. Just unbelievable. Just unbelievable. So that's where we're at, and it's really scary. Mark Schoeneman, where does my job stand? Because we're technically there to stop shoplifting, but we can't actually stop them from doing it. I mean, I guess they can't fire you for what they don't know. I don't know. And that's a difficult thing, because, when I was younger, I used to think, yeah, of course, snitch on shoplifters. That's not right. But that's just the capitalist messaging. They want you to believe that there's this class between hardworking and not.
Well, yeah, it's just like the whole idea of like you're not supposed to share how much money you make with your coworkers. Like that's a
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you brought that up too, and that's a great point, because why do they do that? To message to the other workers like, oh, if they know this, that means they've got leverage, and that means, they can unionize, and I want to avoid a union. Yeah. Like, these people do not give a fuck, and it's funny when people like
Dude,
Ben
it's actually
Shapiro,
funny. My first day on the job when I worked at my grocery store, not even my first day on the job, literally the day that they hired me, before I even started getting trained, one of the first things that they told me was, if you hear any talk about a union, come to me.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Yep.
That's what we're up against, guys. That's what we're up against. And there are people that, again, like I've told Ashton, I wouldn't call it like dark web because it seems pretty out in the open, but I've been on sites that are like overtly white nationalist, white identitarian, as they call themselves. And they're like, oh, we just believe in peaceful deportation, so that we can send, say black people back to Africa. And I'm like, one, there is no such thing as peaceful deportation. That's a fucking oxymoron. Deportation is itself a kind of violence.
Yeah, exactly.
And second of all, like, this is what worries me, is because, and we're seeing it with the president when he uses language like Chinese migrants or Mexicans are sending drugs, they're sending rapists. When you
dude, did you see? Holy shit! Did you see that video of? Oh God, I wish I could remember better, but there was this fucking video of Trump at one of his crazy ass press conferences that he does, right? And one of the reporters was talking about domestic violence, and Trump was like, "Did you say Mexican violence?" And the reporter was like, "No, I said domestic violence." And Trump looked fucking devastated.
Damn.
God damn it.
But see, that's what I mean.
Shit. Oh my God.
When you racialize an issue like that and you politicize it like in that direction, it diverts attention from actual structural inequities that perpetuate these problems. The structural inequities inherent in capitalism, in patriarchy, which is still pervasive today, despite what fucking big brains like Stefan Molyneux will fucking tell you. Oh my God, I hate him so much.
I'm surprised you even said that name here. I'm really surprised you said that.
Well, yeah, because dude, he's going full alt-right. Like that's the thing. Like,
absolutely.
He put out a tweet.
I literally have seen, just not even because of you, but like just because he's a piece of shit that gets brought up in certain places. I've literally seen, apparently he tweeted at one point about basically he's a fucking slavery apologist now.
Yeah. Oh, and he tweeted like something about like tell me what the fuck was it? Go to a mall, see how many stores are dedicated to women, and then talk to me about the patriarchy. And it's like, wow, Stefan, great argument, much wow, leftism defeated. Oh my God, I've been just wow. But it works. That's I could mock it, but it works, and that's the dangerous thing. Like they're winning. They're fucking winning, guys. When you've got Trump in office, when you've got Bolsonaro in Brazil in office, when you've got
Boris
Erdogan, or however, Boris in the UK, Erdogan in Turkey, who's actually jailed intellectuals, and stuff like that. Like it's just rife with fucking right wing populism, and it fucking sucks. It just really fucking sucks, guys. And we need to combat it, and we need to combat it aggressively. So I will say, again, rereading that essay that I wrote like years ago, again when my ideology was a bit different, we don't have to resort to the kind of violence that I again do stand by, that I think ultimately it will be necessary. Because what pacifism ultimately does, and I've told this to my mom actually very recently, it allows the state to tell on itself, because the state, and any anarchist will tell you, is defined by having a monopoly of force via the police and the military. If the country is shut down because all these essential workers, right, aren't going to work, and they try and get them back to work with like, say, hoses or tear gas or just, state violence, you're telling on yourself. Like the state's immediately telling you that we're illegitimate, because if the only way you can get it up and running is through violence, what kind of a country are you then? So pacifism does have its advantages. Absolutely. Like, I can be intellectually honest enough to say pacifism isn't like this thing that won't work. It definitely has advantages. I just feel like really what revolutionary violence comes down to me too is self-defense, because once the state shows its hands, I don't just want people to just sit there and be slaughtered. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, I mean, shut it down. Absolutely. Because people are talking about going back to normal. And as many people have noted, mainly people of color, disabled people, stuff like that. Normal one for them, living paycheck to paycheck, starving, not being able to afford medicine. I saw a tweet recently of a guy saying, because Bernie lost the campaign, and it broke my fucking heart, and I went on a big rant about it. He said, I give up. Like, I give up. I accept that I am going to die of an illness because of a medicine that I couldn't afford because healthcare is broken. I accept it. I give up. And that was so disheartening, because we shouldn't have to give up. That there should be a better world than this. Absolutely should be a better world than this. And it's fucking sad. Yeah, the exact tweet was, fuck it, I give up. I'm going to be poor all my life, and then I'm going to die from some disease that could have been prevented by some medication I couldn't afford. I accept it. Fuck it. And if that's the mindset that's pervading people, who's going to try and appeal to that is, again, I don't think they'd get this guy, for the record, but I think other people that feel that way, they could be more vulnerable to right-wing talking points. Yeah. You wouldn't be poor if you see that guy over there, Juarez, he went in and he took your job and stuff like that. And I say it in almost a joke, but like, it's really dark. Like, that's what they do. That's what they fucking do. And we need,
I think that one of the almost like the fish bait, like the hooks, is like the attacking of the Jews, going after like the Jews own everything, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, like Soros. Yeah, like all those conspiracies. Yeah, dude.
Yep.
Yeah, it's all in the fucking playbook, my man.
Yep.
All in the fucking, it's. But again, like, what terrifies me about the right wing, and I will emphasize, I am terrified of them right now, is they have got a perfect storm right now, because they have a president that will just as soon cite InfoWars
and Breitbart, as you mentioned earlier,
and Breitbart as he would say the Center for Disease Control or New York Times, which I'm not trying to say New York Times is perfect. I mean, fuck, they did an interview with a Nazi once, literally platforming a Nazi. But you get, though, guys, that like the president will just as soon cite fringe sources that make him look good than more critical sources that, even if they're not attacking him, he feels like it's an attack on his status. Like, it's a perfect storm for right-wing reactionary movements right now. And I don't know if we're prepared for that storm. And that's what frightens me the most. I don't know if we have a robust enough leftist vanguard against right-wing actions. And I just don't even know. Like, I'm almost ready to throw my hands up in the air and be like, I don't know what the answer is. But I do think first and foremost, it is organizing and it is striking. So I know I said forever ago that, we should get out of here. But this is a really, like, I love talking about this. Especially, this is probably the calmest I've talked about this. So I wanted to cherish this. But yeah, guys, organize, take care of each other. Any small act you can. I volunteer occasionally on Crisis Text Line, which I have my own misgivings about that, but that's not appropriate for this commentary. But like, anything you can, guys, anything you can to take care of each other and to resist capitalism and resist right-wing rhetoric and ideology. Hell, even if it's donating to like a Planned Parenthood, say, because, God knows they want to take control of reproductive rights. Anything you can do is worthwhile. And even if it's just surviving, that's enough right now, because it's very scary times. I want to thank everybody for joining us for the stream. You're all wonderful. I appreciate you guys. And since this was Ashton's idea, Ashton, I'll let you take us home since you kind of set all this in motion, bud. So it's on you.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say. Just try and I guess just try and be safe, everyone. Try and follow the guidelines, social distancing, all that shit, and most importantly, just try and stay sane. I know it's not super easy during these times. We're gonna try and provide some levity with stuff like this, and NXT earlier tonight and stuff like that. But it's not super easy. We don't really have a ton to talk about. If there's another big wave of cuts tomorrow, we'll probably get on here and talk about it again tomorrow night. But all that being said, we just hope that everyone is able to, again, stay safe, stay healthy, and again, stay sane. And until next time, of course, we also would appreciate it if you remember to stay tuned.